in the morning. You got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom bada boom ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right, baby let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
Let's go. Are you ready? You've been staring since I came in. I know you wanna get to know me. But honestly, I came with my girls, wanna dance by ourselves. Can't you tell? Baby, baby, I have thick skin. Yeah, I don't let things get to me. But do you want me to spell it out for you right now? I'm not feeling your vibe. Crystal clear that you're head over heels, but don't come any closer, my dear. Cause when I get mad, I cannot control what might happen. You think you can put your hands on my body. I'm no damsel in distress. Come too close, I might just lose it. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I think you're messing with the wrong girl. I'll bring the thunder, haven't you heard? But honestly, I just wanna dance with my girls here tonight. No man by our side. Crystal clear that you're head over heels, but don't come any closer, my dear. Cause when I get mad, I cannot control what might happen. You think you can put your hands on my body. I'm no damsel in distress. Come too close, I might just lose it. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. Boy, you better sit down, you just shut your mouth. Cause I don't need a man to make me feel fine. Better sit down, you just shut your mouth. Yeah. You better sit down, you just shut your mouth. Cause I don't need a man to make me feel fine. Better sit down, you just shut your mouth. Yeah. You think you can put your hands on my body. I'm no damsel in distress. Come too close, I might just lose it. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom,
Ma jolie, oh ma jolie. Ah yeah, eh. Every time I come around you, baby girl, something doesn't feel the same. You said that I'm changing, but it's really you. I see how you play those games. Wifey type for a main man. A queen can make moves, a king can't. Snatch you up, now you taking. Gave you bricks, now you building a wall up, wall up. Lately you and I've been all love, all love. I don't know what's up with our love, you forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie, where are you? When I need you the most, you still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. Called the bluffing, made you something, now you're talking. Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Oh, my jolie, oh, my jolie. My jolie, oh, my jolie. You don't turn on me now. You don't get no time for me now, babe. Got him on a rebound, but it's only you that I like, babe. Tout ce que j'ai fait c'était pour toi. Sur le haut parle mais t'écoutes pas. Tu me vois crever mais tu bouges pas. Pourquoi? Whoa, yo, wall up. You can't even get the scars up for us. I don't know what's up with our love. You're forgetting all about us. Oh, my jolie, oh, my jolie. Where you been when I need you the most? You still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting. Girl, you got me. This is murder bluffing. Made you something, now you're talking. I call you bluff. You're telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh, my jolie. Girl, you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something, now you're talking. You're telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Cool it off. I don't know how to cool it off. My jolie, oh, my jolie.
I've been there, locked up inside my head, broken from fear, illusions, disappointment, and hopelessness. Who heard me in my silence, where being a man means nothing? Despair, I've been there too, desperately seeking answers for the questions associated with manhood, hills and valleys, too bleak to compare. Stress, suffering in a utility silo, no comfort, no security, no freedom, no justice, just do it for others. Challenges, who will help me break the challenges? Lost in the vortex of darkness, hopelessness, fear, and abandonment. I've been there too. I've been there too. Take the next step to your destiny. Join me in this fight. Walk forward. Deep breaths. Head held high, men. Come join me, men, in the winds of time. Stories, hopes, visions, purified in the fire. I'm not a superhero. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm here to help you. Join me, men, in this fight. Break the chains of your mind. Let's do it now. For now is all we have. Fire for your mind. The Kosher Clinician. Warning. You are about to enter a territory that's designated by men for all men. And while my platform is clearly designated for all men, many times I will be talking about issues that are endemic only to men of the ADOS descent. If you are a woman coming into the Kosher Clinician Show, understand that these topics or topics that are more or less salient to male issues, you need to be mature, you need to be open-minded, you need to listen. To those that think that because they come or allow women to come into space, that this space will be compromised for the sake of beauty, image, or more or less chicanery of any form, you will be greatly deceived. My platform is designed to empower men and to empower good women that are trying to find resolve. And while my channel is designated primarily for the functioning of male rights and male empowerment, it is good and clear for balance to hear a different perspective. You have been warned. If listening to the Kosher Clinician is not advantageous to your psyche, please exit left. And the topic of discussion for today will be talking about, are modern men husband ready? You know, many times, guys, we talk about, women being wife ready, but the question remains on today is, are modern men husband ready? If you look at it through the lens of critical inquiry, many will say that many men are not necessarily husband ready as it relates to power, but they are husband ready as it relates to service and duty because they've been conditioned to do such. We're going to explore this topic on the day with my dear friend Sir Hill Speaks. I call him the young lion. I am the old lion. And we're going
Fire for your mind.
We're going to look at this thing schematically and more or less explore the dynamics associated with how men should move in modern times and what they should expect when it comes down to dealing with modern women. Because many of our young men, some of you ladies have sons, have been conditioned to compromise their power. And because you guys have sons, you should often want your son to get the best.
and to get with women that are going to honor him, respect him, and serve him, because the love language for a man is service. We got my man in the house. I call him the young lion. Sir Hill Speaks is in the house.
To the culture. How you doing, sir?
Hey man, what's up, man? I got the young lion in the house, man. He's a Leo like me, so we're going to drop some fire for your mind on tonight. But, Sir Hill, this is a topic that I don't think too many people have broached in the past. And it's been something that's been percolating inside my head, and I wanted to take the time to talk about it because many times we talk about, modern women not being wife ready, and we know that many are not wife ready for a myriad of reasons. Some is because they've never seen true masculinity in its purest form. Many times they're not wife ready because they've been indoctrinated by liberal schools. Many times they're not wife ready because they don't value or see the value in men. And so I want to broach the question to you based on your anecdotal experiences. Are modern men husband ready? And if not, what is the problem?
See, first of all, let me start off with saying this. I'm concerned with the term modern men because I see it so often.
Right.
It's like, to me, marriage is for men who have a level of stability. And I personally believe that marriage necessitates a man have traditional values. Mm-hmm. So these traditional men who have been conditioned by modern women, to me, they're not ready for the type of marriage where men are at the helm taking leadership and making sure that the woman is following this program. So let me actually answer your question very simply. So modern men are not ready for marriages where they are the leaders. Modern men are ready to follow a woman who has a stronger personality, who's more domineering.
Right. Right, I agree with that, and and I'm going to answer your query to some point. But you personify a lot of wisdom for your age. You're a young man, I think in your early 30s, and but your energy is a lot much older. Let's talk about the struggles you went through as a young man. And I don't know if you had a father growing up or not. I don't know. But what were some of your struggles as a young man, and where did you compromise power, and where did you regain that power based on thinking errors that so many men have? Because, see, many young men, Sir Hill, are actually spellbound by their wives. And they are spellbound, Sir Hill, because they defer power instead of demanding power. Many don't even know that some of the women they're dealing with have actually put literal spells on them to the point that they don't know how to move under power, conviction, and authority. Jezebel, when she got with Ahab, she got with a weak man. He didn't have the spirit of Jehu that was a warrior. And so let's talk about how you compromised power as a young man and how you regained it back. Based on thinking errors that you didn't know what you were doing. And once again, back to your formative years, did you have strong masculine tutelage? And if you didn't, how did you compromise that power?
First of all, that clip is dope. I need to take some time to appreciate that. The clip was dope. So a couple of things. One is I gave up power for validation. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't grow up with a father. My father passed away when I was 5 years old.
Sorry to hear that, man.
I didn't have a masculine man to see on a consistent basis. As a matter of fact, let me be real with you for a second. The culture clinician, mm-hmm. I picked up feminine tendencies.
Wow.
I talk like my mother. I act like my mother because that's who I was around. Right. And when you're under 10, you don't really recognize your behavior because you're just existing. It's when you start becoming more social around other people that you start to realize that there is a code of conduct that you are expected to have as a boy and as a girl respectively.
Right.
So because I was conditioned a lot of different ways and I did not know what it meant to be masculine. And then the other part to that was that there was so much pushback on masculine men. Who he think he is. He want to act like he's running something. In the back of my head, you're trying to walk a tight line, a tight rope on making everybody happy. And you can't, everybody can't be happy with the way that you live your life. Somebody's going to be upset and men have to be okay with that. So because I grew up that way, even in dating young ladies, I was always trying to get them to like me and trying to win validation, whether I wanted to admit it or not, because I was doing the same thing that I did with my mother. And a lot of the templates we take from our mothers, we do the same thing with the women in our lives.
Right.
And so I gave up so much power and authority because I wanted that attention, that validation, and rejection. Like if because I didn't know how to handle rejection, I avoided it when rejection is absolutely necessary for a man who was coming into his own.
Right.
So I gave up the power for validation and attention, and that ended up costing not only my self-respect, but relationship respect as well. She couldn't respect me because she knew she had some control over me, and I needed her in an area that I should have been self-reliant on myself.
No doubt, man. I totally agree with you 1,000%. And, I keep telling men that, they don't know any better. My heart goes out to you because a lot of men have been conditioned to be what's called, Sir Hill, unconscious simps, The unconscious simp is a term that I created, and I didn't create the term simp, but the unconscious simp actually stands for supplementing irrational male patterns. The unconscious simp stands for supplementing irrational male patterns. So what happens when a man supplements irrational male patterns, Sir Hill speaks, what he does, he gives that woman, or more or less emboldens that woman, where he's giving her positive reinforcement, but he's getting negative reinforcement. And he's an unconscious simp because he doesn't know how to broker for power in the relationship. In the tenets of theology, the word Peter comes from the Greek Petra. And Peter said, upon this rock I should build my church, and the gates of hell won't prevail against it. And so rock is based on principles. Many young men don't stand on principles because they've never seen masculinity in its power or in its rawest form. And because of that, many times they compromise power, and they get in relationships where they give that power away. And many times when they give that power away, Sir Hill speaks, they sing that song by Teddy Pendergrass called The Whole World Is Laughing at Me. I'm Silly Fool. You remember that song? And they sit in the recesses in the corners of their mind doing this. Yeah, many are married and alone, Sir Hill. They're married and alone. And I'm sure you've spoken to men that have dealt with women where they are actually married and alone and they don't know what their worth is. But how does Sir Hill Speaks evolve? And tell the audience about your channel and the principles behind your channel and why you were so motivated to start Sir Hill Speaks.
Fantastic question. Listen, I'm coming ready next time. Listen, y'all, the culture clinician is off the chain. Listen. I'm stepping my game up right after this episode. So, the first thing is life is going to show you. Right. If I tell men this all the time, and mothers don't typically like what I'm getting ready to say, but for men who did not grow up with a father, who did not grow up with a masculine man in your life, and you grew up with a single mother, you're going to have to take 2 years away to detach yourself and see yourself outside of how mama sees you, because a lot of young men grow up into men who become people pleasers.
Right.
And a man who is a people pleaser is not a man that's in position to accomplish his life's mission and his goals. So because I was that guy, because I got married early, had children early, was a husband early, and went through the married but feeling alone, went through having people use you for what you have but don't respect you as a man, and then going through being self-critical and not liking myself and being disappointed at the man that I am, because I based who I am off of what people liked. Because I went through that and I didn't want men to go through the depression that ensues from living that way, I started a YouTube channel to provide some insight and to help men to expedite the growth process and to avoid falling into the pitfalls of people pleasing, trying to use what you have, your money, your energy, your status, your power, as a way to get the validation and attention from women. I started it because I want to see men become men successful, self-reliant, and capable outside of the perspective and the opinions of the woman that they care so much about. Because until a man is self-actualized, until he knows who he is and he walks in power, he'll never have the respect, he'll never have the power, and certainly can't wield the authority he's supposed to have if he doesn't do the work to work on himself first. That's why Sir Hill Speaks Network, that's why we started, and that's why my channel exists.
Yeah, no doubt, powerful brother. You know, and it's the evolution of masculinity, something many men must go through. They gotta evolve to become better versions of themselves. I've always said, Sir Hill, that they gotta uncover so that they can recover. And you know, you like myself, you know, we're born under fire. You know, we love validation. Validation is what fuels us. Validation is what makes us feel good. And you know, many times when people are not assuaging our egos, then it makes us feel like, you know, we're not of any good. And, you know, you talk about one of the negative things you had to do as it relates to dark spots. You had to realize that many times you were very generous, and your generosity, just like myself, often left you at the bed of fools. And you talked about something that a lot of men have, and, you know, they've been trained to think just like, you know, their mama. And you see it all the time. I see it all the time. You know, Raekwon and Man, you know, they bouncing around, and you know, they do things based on their.
Yeah, we chain on them balls on my mom. They be broken balls. Kill some of my mom, bro. They back. He look like gang. That's on my mom. Gang. That's on my mom. Gang. That's on my mom.
Yeah, they do things based on their mama, Sir Hill. They don't think like men, but they think with a feminine hard drive because they've been conditioned not to think like men. They've been conditioned to think like how they get the validation from their mother. When boys have fathers in their lives, they do things based on principles. They don't do it based on feelings. They do it based on principle because principles are fixed. They don't falter. They're never fleeting. Principles are solid, and principles have standards. But so many times, a lot of our boys, because we don't know what masculinity look like, a lot of the women went through vicarious trauma many times, Sir Hill. When they hear men or masculine men speak with clarity and conviction, they can't hear it because they are deaf. And not only are they deaf, they have cognitive dissonance. And that cognitive dissonance keep them from hearing the stories and the pains of men. You know, I did the Manhood Chronicles and the Kosher Clinician as a culmination because I went through a process called sublimation in the clinical. It basically means to take something good and take something bad and turn it to something good. And that's what I did. You know, it helped me understand who I was and what I went through, because we all as men go through what's called a catharsis. But, you know, many times, you know, folks don't care about the struggles and the pains of men. We just kick it under the table, and we minimize the importance of masculinity. We minimize what men go through. And that's why these programs are so important, to help men understand what their worth is. When men begin to understand that they have inherent value, that they have inherent worth, they will no longer, Sir Hill, be saboteurs of their own ignorance. And that's why we got to break the cognitive distortions, the cognitive dissonance, the schema afflictions, the understanding that there are some women that actually use their utility or their resources as it relates to utilization, to use them and to subterfuge them. And listen, it's not wrong with a woman wanting a man with resources. That's part of her biological imperative. But when that biological imperative supersedes righteousness or supersedes what's called moral justice, then it's a problem. Kosher hypergamy is fit and proper, meaning a woman wants resources, but she's not exploitative. Carnal hypergamy is just what it is. It's come from the Greek, and the Greek carne means meat. It's exploitative, just like a lion. And she seeks to exploit men because she doesn't value or respect men. And that's why we got to have these conversations to get these young men to understand how to broker for power in relationships, how to demand power if they're doing their best as men. I'm not talking about men that are not on purpose, men that are not on mission. I'm talking about men that are stepping into their masculinity. They're uncovering so that they can recover to go into masculinity, to become the men and the exemplars that are necessary, not only for community, Sir Hill speak, but what's important for their mental health, sustainability, and well-being. So guys, in the meantime, get these likes up. Get these likes up. If you have not donated, donate to the channel. We got Sir Hill Speaks in the house. If you like what I'm doing, donate to the channel. I love all the brothers and sisters that are watching, but let's get this stream up. I know there are many streams going on tonight. Many people are, it's almost like a divided audience, man. I don't know if I should have went in earlier, but guys, get the likes up, share the content. Share it to as many people as possible. And if you have not subscribed, go check out my man, Sir Hill Speaks. He's a good brother. He's young, he's talented, and he's trying to put in work. And in the meantime, shout out to my man, Gregory Scotland, for that $10 super sticker. Thank you, Gregory.
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
These conversations are so important because, I did a show with the Ingram Experience last night, Sir Hill Speaks, and Miles Bridges, he fumbled the bag. It looks like, we don't know for 100% if that's going to be the case, but it looks like he fumbled the bag. And what I mean by that is that he's been alleged to have, domestic violence towards the woman that he's dealing with. But let's go back and put the finger or point the arrow back to Sir Hill Speaks. When did you realize that you were an unconscious simp? And what were some of the micro steps you took to break that negative thought process?
So how much time you said you had again? Okay, so it's a couple things, and my wife is probably going to be watching, but I'll tell you. So the first one is with my wife. I conditioned myself to give her everything she wanted, whatever she liked. I took stuff that I shouldn't take, and probably did some things that I shouldn't have done as well. Mm-hmm. So being married was the first way that I realized that, hey, I'm doing something completely wrong. I'm trying to fix something and extend a level of grace to my wife based off of the brokenness I had with my mom. And this is not to say that I had a bad mom. This is not to say that. It's to say that the relationship between a mother and a son, at some point, when the father is not there, the mother reaches the place where she can no longer do anything for the development of that man in terms of him being a man. And so there's a gap there, there's a space there. And oftentimes, because there's a misunderstanding, what looks like defiance and looks like rebellion from the son is really him growing up trying to become independent so that he can develop himself as a man. And that's where a lot of problems happen. Mm-hmm. And so because I went through that damage, and there was a whole lot of things we talking about, I was taken out of school in the 3rd grade. So I've never graduated from anything except for when I got my GED at 19 and then got a degree at 30 years old. And I'm finishing up a Bachelor of Science in Cloud Computing now. And I'm going to get my PhD as well. But up until that, there were so many different layers of stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, because I'm confused, not only not going into school, but we traveled and moved through three different states, in the span of a year, and then came out to a state, and then about a year into being out here, I got to be on my own now. So I'm kicked out of the house and I'm forced to figure out life. It's tough. So you can imagine the amount of psychological warfare you go through, because I don't know what it is to be a man, number one. I don't know what it is to be an adult, number two. And I don't know what it's like to be by myself, independent, capable, because I haven't gone through anything in my life to show whether or not I'm capable of doing so. So I went through hell. I put people through hell. I was passive aggressive. I was unhappy. I was low-key miserable. I was looking for somebody to come fix me and rescue me. Therefore, I ran off people because I was expecting them to do something that I should have done for myself. So life showed me I'm not getting what I want out of my marriage. I'm not getting what I want out of my business relationships. I'm not getting this is me, and this is how you know. If you're around other men and you can't get along with other men and you can get along with other women, that's the number one problem, that there was some work you need to do on yourselves. Because men who are raised by women, you find yourself, it's easy to talk to women, but it's hard to talk to men. And the reason it is because with women, they're not going to be as tactical and as outright and as candid to you as men would be. Right. And so you have a heart and a soft spot for talking to women, because behaviors that won't be tolerated with men will be okayed by women. Right. And so life showed me that I had some work to do. My marriage was number one. And then the second part was with my mom. I always felt guilty. I always felt used. I always felt unseen, but it was because I didn't go through the proper channels for the relationship to adjust and for it to respect where I'm at as a man now, because I'm little mommy's baby boy, even though now I'm in a position where I've got to be grown man. So that is a whole lot of stuff. But if I could sum it up, life will show you where you got it wrong, Gab.
Yeah. It's mostly like what we call arrested development. A lot of boys go through arrested development, and that's why they say on my mama, and I do it for satire. But it's true, many do things on their mama. They think like their mama. They're emotional like their mama. They don't think rational like their father because they never saw their fathers. They tend to minimize the importance of masculinity and authority and maximize the importance of the divine feminine. And that's why so many boys now don't respect masculinity or respect men and male authority, because they've never seen it. We've done a great job of berating boys and men to the point that we don't have a strong warrior class of men. And a lot of these boys are not uncovering Sir Hill because they've never seen true masculinity in its power and also in its raw form. And that's why we need to have these conversations. We got to teach these young men how to eradicate or to minimize the thinking errors that they have. And that's why I do what I do, not only as a licensed therapist, but also as a content creator. So once again, guys, get the likes up, get the stream up. Let's share the content. I need 5 people to share it. We got Sir Hill Speaks in the house. I really appreciate to the 25 that are watching. Hopefully we'll get the crowd up to 50 or more tonight. But in the meantime, we're going to keep pushing along because I want to more or less give you guys some clarity and balance to the issues that we're dealing with. And so the topic is, once again, are modern men wife ready, husband ready? And also, are they relationship ready? Let's go back into your formative years, Sir Hill. You talked about how you brokered so much power and how you always wanted validation from women. What damages did that design for power do to you mentally as a man? What did it do to you mentally because you wanted power so much? Validation so much.
Man, it makes you feel weak. Culture, it as a man, like getting the high you get from that female validation is a momentary high. But when you leave from their presence, you feel low and disgusted with yourself because the man this is why I always say, men who are raised with their mothers generally have the tendencies of a woman with the strength of a man. This breeds confusion. And it's like the only way you feel like you're doing something is if you buying a girlfriend flowers and a teddy bear or doing something sweet for mama, and you stop doing work on yourself because you're living your life to put a smile on somebody else's face when you don't even have that smile in your own heart. So what that did to me is it kept me in a perpetual state of depression until I did something to win validation from whatever woman was in my circle, be that a girlfriend or a mom or some other woman who I deemed opinion to be an indictment on who I am as a man.
Right. That depression, man. When did you go through your existentialist crisis, which basically means you said, you know what, I got to stop. I got to stop because this is not helping me. It's actually hurting me. When did you go through your existentialist crisis?
I went through 3 iterations of it. The first one, when I was kicked out, I'm like, something got to change. I don't like the way that I am. So I was about 18, 19. That's the first time. The second time I was 24, 25. And this last time I was 31. So I went through three iterations because there are 3 primary things that happened to me. Number one is, how do I relate to other men? Men who are not respected by other men. This is a clear sign that there's something wrong with the way you've developed, because men validate men. That's the only way that this works. Men have to validate. The second part is seeing it with your significant other or wife, mine and wife in my context. The third one is the relationship with mom. So I had to go through 3 iterations where I put people in their proper perspective, and I had to be okay with simply being me. Not trying to win people, not trying to make everybody happy, but simply being comfortable in my own skin. And whether you like it or not, you reserve the right to be in my life or not. But being comfortable with myself, 3 different iterations, 18, 25, 31.
Right. 18, 35, and 21. You say 18, 20, what'd you say, 18, 25, and 31, right. And so 31 is almost like similar to the Jews. They go do what's called a bar mitzvah. Many men become men at the age of 31. They begin to see things more clear, and that's why these conversations are so important. I'm going to talk about something, Sir Hill Speaks. I'm going to talk about something that's very powerful. And to the guys that are listening, this is my own opinion. This is not a fact. It's my own opinion. And we know, Sir Hill, that socialization plays a very negative role into how men operate and move. We talk about something called nature and nurture. Nature is what you're born with. Nurture is the socialization. I remember Tommy Sotomayor talking about many times he would put his hand on his hip just like his mom, because most kids don't have the balance of the masculine and the feminine. And men need to have that balance in order to have positive polarity. But many times men and boys, they don't see it. And, we created the generations of white knights, simps, conscious and unconscious, guys that won't demand that their wives take their last names, guys that go into egalitarian relationships where they use the word partner. And I know some people, when I think about the word partner, some people, they don't mean nothing by it. It's just a euphemism. But many times it's based on modernism, where they say partner because she wants equal power in the relationship. It ain't no you making the rules or you being the final decision maker. She said, I can make the rules just like you can make the rules. And so many guys, because they want love and adulation, and many of them might have mommy issues, they broke that power. And, I told men that, the inner sanctum of masculinity is necessary to help a man feel healthy and whole. But when this inner sanctum is violated, and the inner sanctum of masculinity goes back to what I said before in the past. The Jews had what was called the holies of holies. And the inner sanctum was symbolic of the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was only where specialized people can go. They were called the Levites, and they were more or less, the Ark was synonymous to the presence of God. But see, men need to have other men to help them, modify or purify their inner sanctum. But when it doesn't happen, Sir Hill speak, many men become saboteurs of their own ignorance. And we begin to see it so many times now. I've never seen a generation of weak men. I had a situation where, many times they're not used to me, and you'll think something's wrong with me. And I've had situations where, people say, well, you're too masculine because they don't see masculine men. They say your voice is too deep. I've had people tell me to lower my voice. And I'm like, a lion can't lower his voice, Sir Hill speaks, especially when he's saying this.
Fire for your mind. The culture tradition.
I ain't got to drop that fire for your mind. You're a lion just like me. You're a young lion. I'm an old lion. But, we're going to guide you to the promised land. And so many young men have been conditioned to think like women to the point that the women are actually repulsed by that said men. How were the women repulsed by you, Sir Hill, as a young man coming up? How were they repulsed, and what did they say to you to let you know that you were being a simp?
Well, Coach, it's a tough. So the girls will let you know real easy. So this is why a lot of men get upset with the Pookies and Ray Ray, because Pookie and Ray Ray, one quality that they had that I think has to be respected is one. Mm-hmm. The first thing is they didn't care what anybody thought. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're going to do what they're going to do, and whoever don't like it, on to the next. That's one of the qualities that women respected. Me as a guy who was looking for validation, everything that I did, I'm up there worried about how I look, I'm dressed, I'm got to be squeaky clean, everything got to be just right and perfect. And I lost respect. So when it came to me doing something that helped, whether it was, I was a musician, so I played the piano or I sang, and I've been speaking since I've been about 14. So whenever I had to conduct business, I was the guy for that. But in relationships, no woman really wanted to actually be with me because the energies that we have were too similar. I was giving off feminine energy. Again, I had feminine behaviors with masculine strength, and that creates confusion that women who want men that they can't be around, even if they want to love you. So my personal relationship showed me that. And then I noticed when there were times where a man should have stepped up or been called on to do something, the woman had to go outside and find somebody else, even though I was sitting right there. And those things, those actions let me know that I had some work to do. So again, life will show you, the people around you, your relationships would show you where you're missing it as a man. That's what happened to me.
Right, no doubt, no doubt. Shout out to my man, Eugene Steele. Eugene, at some point, you can feel free to come in and add to the conversation as well. But these conversations are very important, Sir Hill Speaks, man, because once again, we live in very turbulent times where up is down, down is up. And so many of our boys are confused, and it's to the point now that many men are beginning to see that, and many people are beginning to see that there's a crisis in heteronormative masculinity. And it's not only impacting black men, Sir Hill, it's impacting all men. I'm going to play this clip that I've often played many times, guys, and then I'm going to get right into the minutiae in the heart of the show. As Sir Hill Speaks and now talks about, are modern men husband ready? And many will say that they are not. I don't think they're husband ready when it comes down to brokering for power. They are husband ready when it comes down to giving resources and being traditional in that traditional role. But as it relates to them saying, look, this is what I want from a woman, many of them they can't do it. You know what the sad thing is, Sir Hill? I've seen some men, they're masculine towards me, but they're weak towards their wives. It doesn't make any sense. They'll knock a grown man out, but they cower under the authority of their wives because they've been denatured as men. Many have been mentally denatured, and they don't even know that they've been denatured because they continue to broker power instead of the manpower. Listen to this.
It's a hard thing to admit, but it's understandable why they would choose to go their own way. And that's what's scary, is there's actually a rational reason why they would do that.
Men going their own way. And you can think what you want about it, but this is a really big problem for women, for us, for our future, for families, for you to find a partner. If a population of good men are walking away because they're fed up with women,
if you're being told all your life that you are bad and wrong just for being a man, and that you have toxic masculinity for being a man, and that, women, there's this famous expression that, a woman needs a man just like a fish needs a bicycle. And that men are basically useless. And that men are terrible, and that, women are superior.
Our society is very callous towards men. The only message most men hear in the world is that they're a bumbling buffoon. The TV shows are full of idiot men. Commercials show men as buffoons. The society is against them. All they hear about is what idiots men are.
It's the mass of women that are taking over the culture and representing women. They're loud. They're mean. They say they want equality. Why are they not protesting in the streets for the changing the laws for alimony or child support or child custody? Because they don't want equality. They want superiority.
The male gender has more of a slave state, and it's because men are now subjugated to the law and to women, and nobody really believes it, except the men who go through, say, the court. But most men think that they're exempt from that until they end up in a bad situation.
So for a lot of the men, and a lot of them have gotten screwed over in terrible relationships and divorces, and gotten their kids taken away from them. So it's an understandable response.
In the United States of America, as a man, you can't speak up. I think most women tend to be I'm stereotyping, but they tend to be more collectivist. They tend to sort of be more in that socialist mindset. So I don't know that you're going to see a huge change. I think the change will have to come from men.
The lives of women will not change until the men get the opportunity to also examine and define and change their lives. In many ways, I sometimes think that the 20th century was the century where the women made all these massive changes, and the 21st century will be the changes that the men will make, partly in adapting to the changes that the women have done.
And those men are doing something about it. They're saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not getting married, or I'm divorced. They don't sit around just trying to live their life through women. They actually have lots of hobbies. They go out, they buy that land you were talking about. They're out there getting motorcycles. They're having a good time, and they're enjoying life without having to deal with the stress of the women and the society that tells them they have to have a woman in their life.
How would you feel? I mean, you're not going to feel that attracted to a woman or care to be loving towards her or romantic towards her. So this men going their own way is a reaction to that. I really think it's a rational reaction to that. Men are finally like, hey, we've given you all you want. You are equal in every way, and then you're still shaming us.
So you said, Sir Hill Speaks, you said many men are either deleting themselves from marriage, or they're going into marriage with their head in the sand, not knowing what they're about to get into. And once again, many men, because they're going into marriages not knowing what they're about to get into, it's what Miles Bridges is about to have in a couple of days. He's about to have ego dystonia. So ego dystonia basically means that, his ego is not intact. He doesn't like the way that he feels. Ego syntonia is when you're dealing with people that are delusional or people that are crazy. They have mental illness, that they're delusional. Many modern women have delusional traits. And when people are delusional, they think what they're feeling is normal. So when you try to bring clarity and balance, Sir Hill, to what's going on, they'll look at you. They'll look at you, Sir Hill, and start doing. Yeah, they're crazy. They're crazy. They think something's wrong with you, but something is really wrong with them. And because so many men, Sir Hill, have been saboteurs of their own ignorance, many are singing that song by Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes, the whole world is laughing at me, silly fool. A lot of men are beginning to be laughed at because they don't know how much power they have. Women only respect power and strength. I'm going to say it again. Take notes. Women only respect power and strength. All that nice guy stuff and all that good guy stuff is contraindicated to their psyche. Even women in countries where they've been socialized to be traditional women, they still want a man to stand firm in power and strength. Sir Hill, when you begin to evolve and stand in power and strength, what did it do for your psyche, and what did it do for your relationship with women and also your current wife?
Okay, so I can be completely candid, right?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
It is a wonderful feeling to let your nuts hang. It's a fantastic feeling. I recommend every man who's on here to not only recognize that you got balls, but to let them things hang. And what this did for me is it freed me up to be my authentic self. Mm-hmm. You and I had a conversation. And you said, Sir Hill, you're a Leo like I'm a Leo. And we began to talk about some of the characteristics. And I'm sitting here like, whoa, it's like the coach and clinician is reading my whole story.
Right.
That is what men need. Mm-hmm. To know that what you're feeling, what you think, how you perceive the world, this is normal. And not only is it normal, it's okay for you to own that. Mm-hmm. So once I started doing that, not only did I gain respect, but the people who were using me, that switched to respect, and the things that I was giving them, now they're giving it to me. Now they want to make me smile and make me happy, right? Because I'm walking in power. I'm self-reliant. I don't need you. It's a benefit for you to be in my life. It is not a necessity, and people respect that.
Yes, sir. And that's why they love Raekwon the Man, because Raekwon the Man don't give a damn. Raekwon the Man tell you, look, they're hit and keep moving. You don't fall in line. Raekwon the Man got 2 or 3 lined up. And see, we call it in the clinical world, Sir Hill, a paradoxical directive. What that basically means is this. When a person is contemplating deleting themselves, the therapist might say, go ahead and do it. Go ahead. And so it's like a paradoxical directive because it's of the opinion that you should not be telling a person to do that. But the psychology behind that is to let that person challenge how irrational their thoughts are. So we call it a paradoxical directive. And that's what we should do when it comes down to women that don't want to honor and respect you as men. Tell them to go ahead. Bye. Because sometimes they're defecating tests. They are ish testing you, and they're trying to see how much you're gonna more or less play the role of a fool. And so when men and when fathers and when other men teach boys how to be men, especially us as you're not being Leo men, then we don't become slaves of our own ignorance. You have a big heart, I have a big heart. But the thing about a Leo man, his love language is acts of service, kindness, and touch. And when you give that Leo man what he wants, when you pet, when you stroke the lion, then the lion will turn to a kitty cat. But when you make that lion upset, then he turns to a lion. And that's what women don't understand. You got to understand the synchronicity of how men think and how to speak into him. Delilah was able to get Samson because she spoke into his need. She knew his love language. She was able to whisper sweet nothings in his ear. She was able to stroke his locks. She was able to rub his chest. And she was able to speak life into that man because, she knew his love language. But see, so many men don't know how to not only get that from a woman, but also check her when she's trying to manipulate you. And so many men don't understand it, Sir Hill speaks, because they don't understand the power that's been bestowed upon them. Men are the creators of the universe and the cosmos that we live in. We created the world. Women create our children. They bear our children. What women don't understand is that when you give that man what he wants, that man is going to give you something tenfold. What women don't understand, when a woman genuinely gives a man and loves a man and supports that man, it ain't nothing that man won't do for you. That's why in the 90s, man, we used to love, men in the 90s would serenade women. We would go out, take them to dinner, and sometimes we would boil. Some of the music was simping, but a lot of it was because the women were a better quality of women. Like I'm from Gen X, you're a millennial, but the world is totally different now than it was in the past. Guys, get the likes up, share the stream. If you like what I'm doing, please donate to the channel. I know you like what I'm doing because you're watching the show, but donate to the channel. Go check out my man, Sir Hill Speaks. He's doing a great job. He's an awesome brother. He's a phenomenal brother. He's been supporting me, and we finally got together and decided to do a show on tonight. But help me get the stream up to at least 50 tonight, guys, because Sir Hill, and I know, content creation is extremely difficult. And I say it all the time. I always tell people that if they don't have money, just share the content, But and I know the content creation is a lot of work. It's very hard. It's a lot of editing. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of putting things together. And when you run your shows, we're a one-man show. We don't have engineers or none of that. We're doing it by ourselves. So guys, if you like what I'm doing, if you like what I'm putting into trying to help men become better versions of themselves, share this content. If you don't have money, I'm okay if you don't have the money. Just share the content, help other young men out. But if you do have monetary support, show some support, and go check out my brother Sir Hill Speaks. Now we're gonna get deeper into the rabbit hole because there's a lot of meta madness going on. Sir Hill Speaks. There's a lot of meta madness going on, and this here, guys, is my it's a generalization. It's nothing true, but it's a generalization of what I see of traditional men from the past compared to men now. Once again, guys, I don't need nobody talking about, oh, that's wrong or that's false. This is just a generalization. This generalization could be wrong. I didn't do no extensive research because I didn't have the time, but this is what I saw and what I perceived as a young man growing up. Shout out to my man, the Ingram Experience. He is a sponsor of the stream. Shout out to that brother. He's always showing love, and that's a deal right.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
That's a deal right.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
James Turner, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Turner. James Turner said, good evening, Coach and Sir Hill. Excellent topic and discussion, no doubt. And that brother is going to be going to South Africa at some point. And Sir Hill, I love to see men happy. I love to see all men happy, white men, black men. I love to see all men happy. And, when men are getting their needs met and they're happy and they're coming back home with a smile on their face, or they're telling me good news about the women in their lives, they stand firm in their masculinity as men, it makes me feel good because, Sir Hill, many men have been handicapped. And that's why so many men get played in relationships because they don't know what their worth is. So I'm going to pull up something, guys, and I'm going to let you guys see it. And hold tight. And you guys tell me what y'all think, because once again, this is just my hold on. This is just my my honest interpretation of what I think is going on with a lot of modern men. So I'm gonna pull this up. All right, hold tight. All right, so this is more or less, Sir Hill, traditional men of the past. Traditional men of the past. Shout out to the A Peaceful Life. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it for that $10 super sticker.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
The Peaceful Life said that,
that's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
If men are husband ready, what percentage of women in America are wife ready to fulfill the needs of those men? And I agree with him, right? And you're right, Ingram. Most men are husband ready as it relates to doing traditional stuff like paying bills, paying mortgages and all that stuff. But they're not husband ready when it comes down to brokering for power. Many go in already handicapped because they think that in order to assuage the woman and to get what I call the granny treats, they got to do what they need to do. And so I'm going to break this down, Sir Hill. And once again, this is my own interpretation, guys. It's no particular order. Once again, thank you to The Peaceful Life. Thank you, brother. Him and I did a great show last night. But traditional men of the past, in general, word was bond. Word was bond in the past with traditional men in the past. My dad is a boomer. My dad will be almost 80 soon. And I remember a time when your yays were yays and your nays were nays. The Winans made a song called Bring Back the Days of Yay and Nay. Love language was acts of service. That was men of the past. They were often very stoic. They didn't really show a lot of emotion. Many times they were quiet. They would sit in the corner. They wouldn't do a lot of talking. They were very stoic, a lot of men of the past. They were men of a few words. You didn't mess with them. You know, they didn't bother you and you didn't bother them. My granddad was like that because I'm 50 years old. And my granddad was a man of few words. But if you mess with him, he would get greasy with you. They were mission focused instead of emotions. Emotions. You know, Sir Hill, now a lot of men are very emotional because they've been conditioned to think like their women, like their mothers. And many times they bounce around and they compromise power. And, you know, they don't sit down and talk like men, but instead of talking like men, they get mad and they threaten to put a slug in you. And they bounce around and say,
yeah, put chain on them balls on my mom. They be broken balls. Kill some of my mom. Bro, they back me look like gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my monkey.
Yeah. Raekwon the Man, Sir Hill, will take you out in this generation. They don't talk. They just shoot and ask questions later. They don't do things based on principle. They do things based on how they feel. So traditional men of the past, Sir Hill, they were very resilient, but often suffered in silence. And what I mean by that, many of the soldiers that came back from World War I and World War II in Vietnam, especially the black soldiers, they weren't given the fair treatment and fair credence. But not only black soldiers, you know, a lot of white men suffered in silence to the point because they had post-traumatic stress disorder. They either were very violent, they either became womanizers to assuage or be for self-medication. And many times, Sir Hill, they got on drugs like heroin. And so a lot of these men were broken men, and they suffered in silence because talking about your feelings back in the past was something negative. But I want to ask you a question, Sir Hill, as we continue to talk about this topic. I'm going to get right back to it in a minute. Would you say that most modern men are very emotional when it comes down to standing firm on masculinity? What say you?
So yes, to answer your question, but I don't think that they are natively emotional.
Right.
I mean, that they picked up the behaviors. So we know that the way that the brain works is what we call emotional imprints, right? So emotional imprints, he learns how to handle a situation. Once that imprint is there, he takes that imprint and applies that on autopilot. So he's not really putting in any emotion into it. This is just the response based off of that emotional template that he has. I think this is where a lot of men are, right? Mm-hmm. They saw how to resolve something. They saw how the women in their life dealt with it. They use their masculine strength coupled with that emotional template that comes from women, and that's where they do so much damage because of that.
Right. When you say damage, what do you mean by that?
So I've noticed, guys, if a guy can get upset and be that quick to pick up a gun or do some type of physical violence without thinking, well, generally that's what they saw probably growing up. That when they did something wrong, they got beat real quick, popped in the mouth, whooped, go to your room. Right. And the level of punishment didn't match the actual infraction. Mm-hmm. So that template on a small scale manifests itself on larger things as well.
No doubt. So it sounds like it's a combination of nature and nurture. Shout out to my man Chris Norwood, as he is the new sponsor of the stream.
That's a deal, right? That's
Chris
a deal,
Norwood
right?
said men are warriors.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Salute to Coach Clinician, Sir Hill Speaks. Let your nuts hang. I like that hashtag. I might put that hashtag in, man. Let your nuts hang, man. And you know what? It's true. You know, actually, Sir Hill, when men are doing deadlifts and, you know, they're letting the sack hang, it actually builds testosterone. So deadlifts are actually good. You know, I heard Chris talk about it. I need to get back into doing it. But it's good to let your sack hang when you're doing deadlifts and when you're lifting, you know, heavy weights. Because it builds your testosterone, man. So it's necessary. Shout out to I call it the you know, she's a Leo like us too. Sir Hill Speaks. She's yeah. I love Chantel. She be getting the serpents upset, man. You know, the granny serpents be getting mad at Chantel. You know, they get real mad at Chantel because, you know, she said they got them long titties, not titties. Yeah. But, yeah.
What did we do to her? You mean, what did she do to us? She had the nerve to call us witches. And she was right. You three ugly witches.
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
Oh my goodness, man. Yes, Chantel, man. We're gonna have to get the fruit of Islam with Chantel. It's gonna be me and you, a peaceful life. Chris Norwood, we're gonna form a band around her, man, because they be getting mad at her talking about them long titties, not titties, but titties. Because Chantel is a young woman. I call her the exalted lioness. She's been uncovering so that she can recover to become a better version of herself. These women have been badly socialized like a lot of us men. So many women have been socialized to defer their feminine power. So many men have been socialized to defer their masculine power. And because of that, both are saboteurs of their own ignorance. And what they do, they come into relationships emoting or emitting the woman masculine issues, but the man emoting feminine energy. And so when you have a man emoting masculine, feminine energy, and a woman emoting, emitting masculine, then they're opposite. The feminine and the masculine is a synchronicity. We call it an amalgamation. And, that's like in science. It's called amalgams, the amalgamation. In chemistry, it becomes amalgams, or what we call a melange. And we need that in order for men and women to have polarity. The feminine and the masculine is very powerful when it comes together. It's very powerful. Being around a feminine woman, guys, can raise your testosterone levels. And many men don't believe that. And so many men are broken, Sir Hill, now because they've been around so many masculine women that they can't let the nuts hang. When they go home, the testicles shrink up inside the scrotum because they're under a lot of stress. You ever seen times when you get stressed out and your testicles, they go up real high in your stomach.
Be like, hey, where them things at?
because they're stressed out, man. And I love that thing, man. Let your nuts hang, man. That's powerful because men need to start doing that because your time on this earth, you don't know when you're going to leave this earth. I'm going to do a show on tomorrow called Oculus. And Oculus comes from the occult. And it basically means to delve into the unknown. And so I'm going to do a show on that sometime tomorrow with LAR Movement. That doesn't happen. But we're going to get back deep into the conversation, man. Shout out to everybody. Thank you, Chantel Simone. She's an awesome sister. Respect that sister. She's a cool sister, 100%. She up there dying laughing. She's a Team Leo. And the thing about us Leos, man, big personalities, man. We love hard. It ain't nothing we won't do for the people in our life. We love our women. We love our friends. We tend to be very loyal. But the problem that Leos have a lot of times is that we tend to see the glass half full instead of seeing it for what it is. And many times we stay in relationships too long, whether it be romantic relationships or business relationships, because we always see the good in people. But what I'm learning as I'm getting older, you just got to see folks for what it is, man, and just keep it moving, man. Hold on for a minute. Let me look at this real quick. Shout out to XL Pro for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, XL Pro. That brother is always a wild showing love. Thank you, XL Pro. You're an awesome brother. Now, we're going to get back into it and talking about the traditional man. They were silent, but many of them suffered in silence. In general, the women knew when to be silent, and I can't even see it. Hold on. In general, the women knew when to be silent, and they were built for adversity. Those men of the past were iron tough. They were like John Wayne and Gunsmoke and John Amos. Those men were strong men. They knew what it was to be tough. They knew what it was to be men. They knew what it was to stand firm. Many of them were veterans of war. And they weren't weak like a lot of modern men. This generation, Sir Hill, when they go through adversity, they quit. They don't fight through adversity. The gospel says that gold without fire would never become pure gold. And, this generation of men don't know what it's like to go through adversity because they've never seen it. They've never seen true masculinity in its purest form. What say you about that, Sir Hill?
I think that's a fundamental fact. I think that's a fundamental fact. As a man, there is, now listen, I won't go too much in history because I'm not an expert, so I don't like to speak on stuff that I don't have expertise in. But right. In the African cultures, they would take young men at a certain age, I want to say it was like 13 or 14, and they would put the young men through a series of challenges because they were introducing them to manhood.
Right.
And I think men need that. We don't have any type of ritual. We don't have any type of work that we put young men through to not only uncover their manhood, their masculinity, but so that we unlock the confidence in them. We just put them out into the world. And so those attributes that you just listed, those things, you don't just figure it out. a lot of that stuff you have to be taught and cultured. And a lot of our men are not cultured for that until life either beats them up really badly and they're forced to do it, or they never get it at all and they go through this life depressed and sad and end up expiring unhappy and unfulfilled. So I completely agree with the graph that you just showed.
Right. Many do grow up. Can you hear me? Many do grow up broken and unfulfilled. Can you hear me, Sir Hill? Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Yeah, for some reason the internet's slowing down. But yeah. Many do grow up broken and unfulfilled, Sir Hill, and we got to get these young men to a point where they can love themselves, know what their worth is, and no longer become slaves of their own ignorance. But back to point and back to topic. And so once again, Sir Hill, they were built for adversity. And you're right, that was part of what's called rites of passage. They knew what to expect from their women. That's why many men, when they travel abroad, they go over simping because they oversimp, because you don't have to do all of that to women in other countries. Listen, women in other countries are not perfect. Let's say it again, they're not perfect. But by and large, they grow up in a patriarchy where the men demand power. And I'm going to show you guys a clip from a show that I did in the past talking about why men should broker for power and demand power. And the Ingram experience, and I talked about it partially last night. Hold tight. All right. So Generation X, that's the generation not Ingram. Sir Hill that I was from. I was from Gen X. We were what's called progressive modern. We were right in between. We still did some of the things like the old schoolers did, but we were beginning progressive. And many will argue that the downfall of the society was the boomer women giving the Gen X women the baton to say, I don't need a man. And many will say that Gen X women started the war, or more or less, fueled a lot of the dysfunction that we have now. But Gen X men, in my opinion, this is my generalized opinion, they still remember traditionalism in part. They remember, shows like Fred Sanford, The Good Times, the Jeffersons. They remember stuff like that in part, especially if you're an older Gen X. If you're on the back end, maybe not so much, but if you're around the 50s, late 40s, early 50s, then you remember a lot of that. They were very romantic. And they often dated their women. Their standards were very high in general, Sir Hill. Men at Gen X didn't really deal with a lot of women that had kids by multiple men. I know I didn't. We didn't even look at them. Women that had a lot of fun, they didn't look at chicks like that. We didn't take them serious. I know I did. A lot of cats in high school, that's how we didn't roll like that. There were a few guys that did it, but in general, that was a stigma. The women were more ladylike. Women in Gen X were doing dirt on the low. But, they had a higher level of respect for themselves. Being a thought was not something to be proud of. It was very shameful. And many times they hid their behavior because they were very ashamed of it. Gen X men never used words such as partner, but husband and wife. Word was bond with Gen X men, and they often serenaded their women. We came from the generation of Keith Sweat, and, Keith Sweat said, make this last forever. Babyface. I'll be sure, gospel music was good back in the day. Gen X men, we were trendsetters. That was a good time to live in. Gen X was a good time, man. But Gen X was what I call that Gen X nexus. And I'm going to do a show. I'm going to start a series called the Gen X Nexus. But that's when things start going bad. And, Gen X were traditional, progressive men. But also Gen X men, Sir Hill, were victims of women disrespecting them, and the men never felt like they were good enough. And many times Gen X men, a lot of times, Sir Hill, gave their women too much, to the point that a lot of Gen X men allowed their women to emasculate them in part. But what I'm seeing with a lot of the Zennials and millennial men, they don't really care, especially the Zennial men. The Zennial men don't give a damn. Either you are or you ain't. They don't care because they're busy playing video games and eating Cheetos on the couch. But what do you think about that quick breakdown of some of the different things that you see in Gen X men and millennial men?
All right, it's about to take a turn. All right, so number one is we went from purpose-focused to pussy-whipped. At first, we used to have things we worked on. We wanted to make sure we got the house and the land and the savings. We saw life. It became really easy to to find a sense of fulfillment and winning something. Like you get the dopest girl. You get a chance to hit that. You see how thick she is, bro. Man, you see her. Well, look at them jeans she got on, man. You see them toes, because I don't know if it's all Leos, but the Leos like them nice looking toes, right? She got the toes looking good, hands looking good. She's sexy. We became pussy focused. We became pussy whipped instead of focused on things that actually matter. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the other stuff you said is absolutely correct. Our word matter. We cared about how our women presented themselves. I think that what happened is that women did not see enough men, and there were too many women that were heartbroken, and they poured poison into this generation. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to figure out life while trying to be cleansed from all of that. I think that's what happened to both men and women. Because to be truthful, a lot of these modern women that I see today, they're not like this because they woke up one day and decided this. And I know you've done this, you ask enough questions and you start to see how deep this goes. She saw a whole lot of people think like this, and she's unconscious as to why she's even doing it. The same thing with the brothers. So I agree with what you just showed. But there were a lot of different reasons why I see people this way. The number one reason is people today are doing what they were taught.
Yeah, right. A lot of them are doing what they were taught. Some of it's liberal indoctrination. Some of the women are actually shamed into silence. I like what Chantel always talks about, how when she went to liberal universities, she was on the strong and independent persona. And yeah,
that's why I got my associates. Shout out to Liberty University.
Oh, you went to Liberty?
Yep.
Okay, good. And she talked about how many times she deferred her power by, listening to some of the dogmas that were taught to her in university. And I think that's a lot of, you got a lot of women that's talking about, they've been oppressed, but they went through nothing what their grandmothers and great grandmothers went through. They didn't even live that experience, but for some reason, they talk about being oppressed. So Gen X men were traditional, progressive modern, they still had a lot of traditional values, but they were very progressive modern. They tended to believe in marriage more, they were old school. They still had a little old school, like we knew about Dr. King, but also we knew about technology. So we were like in the middle, technology, but also Dr. King and when women were ladies, when women were serenaded. Like a lot of women say they get tired of Netflix and chill. Well, the Gen X women did it silently, but when you go to schools and say, you could be intimate and promiscuous like men, then that's what you get. You get Netflix and chill. They're not taking you out to dinner. They don't serenade you. They don't open the door, because many say, I don't need a man to open the door for me. So the guys feel confused, because in our generation, that's just what we did. We opened doors. We took our women to dinner. We took them to lunch. We treated our women like ladies. You remember that song back in the day, Sir Hill, called Treat Her Like a Lady? You remember that song? You don't remember?
I don't think I remember that one.
Oh, I forgot. I keep forgetting you a puppy. But if you don't remember that one, you definitely ain't gonna remember this, because all men remember Shirley Brown. Shirley Brown, just say all for her man. Shirley Brown used to, I can't think of her name, but Shirley Brown was the kind of man that most men desired to have, especially back in the 70s with some of the millennials, the X's and the boomers. This was Shirley Brown.
Now you see, I don't want no trouble now. I hope you understand.
Yeah, Shirley Brown said, I love that man. I didn't want to get a copyright strike. But Shirley Brown said, I love that man. She loved that man. See, women back then, they valued their men. Sir Hill, I came from the generation where men would write girls love letters. We would write love letters. We would ask them out for dates. The men weren't socially awkward because we had to talk. But, this new generation, they don't do a lot of talking. It's not all their fault. A lot of the Zennials are the post-Y generation, and they're the internet generation. So they're awkward. They're socially awkward. They don't talk. They look down when they meet girls. They don't know how to talk to women. And a lot of the women don't know how to serenade men to be kind and gentle. And so this is just a little snapshot of what I think in general were some of the things that you saw between the traditional men and of the past. Hold tight. All right, so modern men with traditional standards. Now, once again, there are modern women that are traditional at their heart, But many of those modern women, Sir Hill, get shamed into silence. They're called pygmies. They're called mammies. You know, when a woman says, I want to cook my man a meal, you know, oh, girl, you ain't no slave. I ain't cooking that man nothing, you know. And so there are modern women with traditional standards as well, but they are very rare. But here are the modern men with traditional standards, Sir Hill. They are often from the South in general. They can be from the North as well, but often from the South. They were raised under some form of religion. Some came from two-parent homes. We know many kids now growing up in single-parent homes. Some came from broken homes. Some were raised by their grandparents, Sir Hill, and they never went to college, and they remember the old ways, and they want modern women to be traditional. So they are traditional men, but they are growing up in a modern world. So they're looking for a traditional woman they're looking for a modern woman that lives in a traditional world. What's your take on that?
Well, I take personal offense as a traditional man who comes from the Midwest of Chicago. I'm representing for the North. So, no, I agree, though. A lot of the people who espouse those things, to be honest with you, a lot of them that I do know come from Mississippi, come from, you know what I mean, from Georgia, so on and so forth. So I wholeheartedly agree with that.
No doubt, no doubt. Shout out to Big Bad Bull for the $5 super sticker. And I'm gonna play this for you, Big Bad Boys. Normally I'm 10 and up, but just for you, Big Bad Boy.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Is there a
lag on your end, Sir Hill?
Got 5 on it.
Is there a lag on your end?
In StreamYard, just slightly. On YouTube, not so much.
Okay. All right. So Gregory Scotland said that much of the blame goes to the late boomer and Gen X women. I can agree with that. A Peaceful Life said that our women replace men with government degrees, feminism, office jobs. Yeah, that's why I say I think that the Gen X women were that nexus point where things begin to go for the worse. And I'm going to start a series called the Gen X Nexus. But it was that nexus point where things begin to go for the worse. I agree with that, A Peaceful Life. And he said in other cultures, these men are a source of survival equals better treatment. And Gregory Scotland is concurring with them. All right, so let's look at the next one. That's the last one, and then we're going to get into something I did with the English experience, A Better Life. And a minute, hold tight, sir. Here, hold tight. Let me go get to that. Hold tight. All right. All right, so this is the last one. This is the last generation. Hold tight. So many men in this cohort group, Sir Hill, they tend to be white knights. They tend to be liberally indoctrinated. They tend to hate anything associated with masculinity because they've never seen true masculinity in its pure form. Anything associated with the truth is seen as hate. When you correct bad behavior in women, they say you hate women. You know, Kevin Samuels got accosted for that a lot of times when he called out bad behavior. They agree with the granny serpents and the ones, and they'll say, your mama's black, and how dare you say anything about black women? And many times Sir Hill, has nothing to do with black women or the hatred of black women. It's just calling out bad behavior. And so I was from a generation where we remember that, but nowadays, if you call out bad behavior, they say that you hate folks, and really it's just a sign of... Yeah, a lot of cognitive dissonance, Sir Hill. They can't hear what's going on. They can't see what's going on because they have a cacophony going on inside their head. When you present them with the evidence, they deny it. When you continue to try to show them the evidence, Sir Hill, they become enraged. They argue ad hominem attacks. They attack the messenger instead of the message. And then when you press them even harder, they fight you with verbal barbs, or they flee because they can't stand the heat. And so, the truth is now the new hate. And anything associated with the truth is seen through a negative lens. But these modern men are often metrosexuals. Some of these zennials and millennials, not all of them, are metrosexuals. In general, they believe in egalitarian relationships. They believe in partnerships and sharing power. They believe in, some of them they'll let their wives work while they stay home. And I'm not saying that a man can't stay home, temporarily, but ain't no way in hell I'm gonna stay home with an apron on, cooking no cookies and taking care of no kids. I'm not doing that. I'm a lion, and I'm a hunter, so I could never do that. They believe in partnership. They went to liberal schools. They're often from suburbia. Some are from single-parent homes. They're son husbands. They worship women. They see masculinity as a threat, and they many times they come from being millennials and zennials. What's your take on that?
Can we pull that back up for 1 second?
Yes, sir. Hold tight. And in the meantime, shout out to my man, Big Bad Bull. He said, my bad, brother Kosher. Keep cooking. Love the show. Thank you, man. That's a deal, right? Thank you, Big Bad Bull, for that $20.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Thank you, sir.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Got 5 on it.
So once again, in general, when I say in general, this is a generalization. I am generalizing. They believe in egalitarian relationships, believe in partnerships. They went to liberal schools, often from suburbias. They like lattes and coffees and all that stuff. They wear the skinny jeans, many of them. Many of them are metrosexuals. Some are from single-parent homes. They worship women. They can't take any time a man say anything contrary to a woman's bad behavior. They say you hate women. And many times they're zennials and millennials. So what's your take on that, Sir Hill?
Yeah, so it's when I looked at the last few of them, and that worship women and seeing masculinity as a threat are so big. But I think this is where it starts: is the worship of women. Is the root word of worship is worth. Like that's where we're saying that I think you're worth, and I can tell you how much I think you're worth by how I display that worship. And when people are worshiping anybody, they also take on that mindset to create a frequency of communication. I think this is what so many men have done. So I think it is absolutely spot on. The part that makes men makes it negative is when they start to see themselves who they are intrinsically is a threat. That's the huge problem. So we see women as a threat. So we've pedestalized them and we've deified them, which is something we should not do to anybody. But at the same time, we pedestalize them, we put ourselves down.
Right.
And I think that's a significant problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem because, as I said in the clinical, it's contraindicated. Listen, women don't understand when I say this, but it doesn't mean that the man doesn't love a woman. When a man puts himself first and his purpose first, well, actually put God first and then his purpose and his woman last, it's really how he protects her. His love for her is his ability to protect her and guide her in the right direction. But watch this. When you love a woman so much that you allow her to violate you as a man, then you're not protecting her. You're actually putting her in danger and yourself. And so men are at their best when they're operating in logic and true masculine form. Men are at their best where their yay is yay and their nay is nay, and they're not easily to be manipulated by feelings or emotions. That's a true masculine man. And once men understand that, then they will no longer become slaves of their own reality. But a lot of men, they continue to be slaves, Sir Hill speaks, because they don't know how much power they have. The woman was made for you. She was made for your pleasure. But a good man takes care of his woman. He loves her. He provides for her. He protects her. But watch this, Sir Hill. He even dies for her as Christ died for the church. That's what a good man does, but he's never concerned about her feelings. I have 3 sisters that many times our thinking was totally off. My sisters do things based on nurturing, but I don't do things based on nurturing. I do things based on principle. If you start crying, I don't give a damn about your tears. Your tears don't mean nothing. I do things based on principle alone. If your feelings supersede my standards as a man, your principles mean nothing. Your feelings and tears mean nothing. But if you honor and respect me as a man, then I will take your feelings into consideration. Shout out to my man, Dre. He's bringing to you live from Columbia. He said, shout out, great topic, coach. And shout out to Dre for that 40, what is that? Those are pesos. That 40,000 pesos, no doubt.
That's a bet,
deal,
right?
Thank
That's
you.
a deal, right?
Thank
That's
you,
a
Dre. I
deal,
appreciate
right?
it, brother. We got to get together,
That's
Dre,
a
soon.
bet, right? That's
My
a
man
deal,
Top Gun
right?
is
That's a
over there in
deal, right?
Colombia as well. But Dre, we got to get together at some point, man. I want to do a show with you and also Luke Caisley at some point, and we're going to talk about the dynamics between women from foreign countries and men that are looking for wives, what they should look for, and that brother does a great job. Go check out Love Crossing Borders, a great show for men that are looking for wives, and they're serious about getting them a good traditional woman. So shout out to my man Dre from Love Crossing Borders. But yeah, so that's a quick snapshot, Sir Hill, about that generation of men. But the Ingram experience talked about something that's very powerful, man. He talked about, we did a show last night, and I'm going to pull that up in a minute. And hold tight. And he was talking about how a lot of these modern boys are actually being damaged. He did an awesome job. We both did an awesome job breaking it down. And it was talking about how have you been stung by marriage and relationships? So hold tight.
But also the government.
Right.
And the government is on her side. The court of public opinions is on her side. And you can't, be in your masculine frame, which most of these young men are not raised around strong masculine men in the first place, to take any form of leadership or be in that position, unless you're just that guy who just, don't care or don't care what people say. You're just gonna lead and do what you do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's very few of those guys out here.
Right, it is very few, and sadly, so many of our young men compromise their power because they've never seen true masculinity in its powerful form. Guys, I'm doing a couple of things behind the scenes as we get this show started tonight. If you know anything about content creation, many times we're a one-man show, so I do everything by myself. It's a lot of work, but I want to see you young men in power. I want to make sure you guys get good content, good quality content, because if it's not kosher, I don't deal with it. But there's been a lot of consternation in the news, Ingram. More importantly, hold tight. The Miles Bridges situation. We're gonna get into that because many men are getting stung. But besides men living in a gynocentric society, what else is compromising so many young men, Ingram, as it relates to learning how to broker power in relationships? You talk about a term called relationship capitalism. And tell the audience what that means to you. And while it appears that in these modern times, there's a such thing called relationship inflation, because many expect more than what they're willing to give. So what say you about this whole concept called relationship capitalism?
I think it has to do with men putting themselves in the best situations to be successful.
So, Sir Hill, when you think about relationship capitalism, what does that mean to you, brother? When you think about relationship capitalism, Ingram came up with that term, A Peaceful Life. But what do you think about, what ruminates through your mind when you hear the word relationship capitalism and helping men become husband ready, but also the arbiters of power in that relationship?
Honestly, I'm just listening to it because it actually made me think. It's an interesting concept.
Okay, well, let me go back to it while you're listening, man. You salivating, you about to eat you some pork chops. So hold on. Let me let you listen to it, and then we're gonna break it down. Hold on.
That means you're not limiting your option. You're making the best option for yourself, irregardless of what people think. You're not tunnel vision. You're not locked in to dating this type of woman or that type of woman. You work hard and you become the best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. Whatever woman that you choose or somebody you choose to be in a relationship should be somebody who adds value to your life.
Right.
And I don't believe in relationship welfare where you're just dating women just because they're part of a certain community, or you only date Black women or whatever. If that's your preference, so be it. The problem is that you have to put yourself in a situation where you're celebrated versus whether you're tolerated. And you have to put yourself in a situation where women of value have to compete for you, are competitive.
Now, the Angry Man talked about some, Sir Hill, and it's powerful. He said that most modern women don't like to compete. And many men don't know how to demand that they compete for that ring and compete for that relationship. What's your take on that as men broker for power and exercise their rights with relationship capitalism?
First of all, that's a fantastic. With that context, absolutely agree with it. The thing is, though, men's standards are so low. Give him enough sex and a rub on the head, and he gonna be fine. And until we demand more than that, then our women will never compete because they know it's the power of the coochie, and we're gonna be fine. So men have to want more, but men have to be exposed to more to want more, and then we set that as a standard. And then I think women have to become competitive then. Right.
You're right. They got to be exposed to more. And, I was in Brazil last year. I'm going to be in the movie with Al Grease. It's going to be dropping at some point on Vimeo on Frustrated 3. And you're right. You got to demand more. Men got to demand more. And once men demand more, they can get better outcomes. And you're right. Once you see the world from a different perspective, you'll no longer tolerate mediocrity. Brazil was a very good experience for me. And I look forward to showing the movie whenever Grease, put it out on Vimeo, and him and I are going to do a prequel and a pre-show to talking about that. So back to what my man was talking about, relationship capitalism. Hold on.
And want your masculine presence. Right. You're not limiting yourself, because the biggest issue you have here is a lot of men don't value themselves, especially in the Black community. They've been raised by a lot of single moms. They think their mentality is more egalitarian in how they approach women. They think they have to bend over backwards when they're providing provision, protection, security, and maintenance to women. And that is a very valuable thing, especially in countries that are not government empowered. And that's often taken for granted. And my perspective on that is, it's like I treat relationships like I treat a business when it comes to meeting women and dealing with women, is that if I go somewhere and I have bad service and I put a capitalistic approach to that, I don't stand around complaining about it. I just don't go there anymore. They're not going to get my business. And I think men should look at relationships the same way.
Right. And is it safe to say, Ingram, that so many men have been compromised because they've been raised in environments where they've never seen true masculinity? Is that safe to say?
That is very safe to say. We've been raised in an environment that they haven't seen. The simp cultures here. Very big. Like I always say this thing, Mother's Day is a celebration, Father's Day is a burden. The reality of life is we're taught in this culture to worship women, basically, and not have any value to ourselves. We think about women as a prize or so on and so forth. But realistically, if you go to the other culture, the value of a good man, you just cannot, stress that, because they're not government empowered. And so they value their men. Their men are an asset to the family, generational wealth, protection for kids, protection in the community. There's a value system. And here, obviously, we don't have that system here. Obviously, women have jobs, which is fine, and they're more independent. I wouldn't say they're more independent, to be honest with you, because what I'm seeing out here in the streets nowadays. But the reality of life is they don't value men as much because they have the government, and the government can usually take resources from productive people and give it to unproductive people very easily.
Yeah, and I agree with that, man. It's safe to say, Ingram, that there is relationship inflation. You talked about relationship capitalism, meaning men should get the best. I parroted your term and came up with relationship inflation. So Ingram came up with relationship capitalism, but I parroted that by talking about relationship inflation. And basically what it means, Sir Hill, is that you got a bunch of subpar and average women thinking they demand more than what they're actually really worth. Back in the day, Sir Hill, before the advent of social media, average women got with average men and they were happy. But now you got average women that are built like trucks, built like linebackers, and built like rocks.
Built like trucks.
built like damn Mack trucks and rocks. And they think they deserve good men. And there was a time, Sir Hill, that men had to put in work to get some kitty cat. It make the relationships last longer because women, they just didn't give the kitty cat away for free. But now, they give it away like Christmas candy if you got money and status, and they don't value themselves. So now It's to the point guys are saying, why even bother? It's nothing special about it. You know, they're giving the Raekwon the man. And so why should I give my best to a woman where the gold standard back in the past, Sir Hill speaks, was this. She was wife ready. She didn't have any kids. And she was a virgin or she had very low bodies. She was a virgin or she had very, very low bodies. Nowadays, you got chicks that they had a lot of fun. They got kids by other men or multiple men, and they're definitely not wife ready. They say like Cardi B, I don't cook and I don't clean. And so men have been victims of relationship inflation, Sir Hill. They sell it for mediocrity, something that my grandfather and my dad would have never sell it for. They take the dregs of society and they don't demand anything in return. And those same said women were trying to shame those men into getting the outcomes that they want. And so what's your take on that? And like Jenny Moreno says, she's right. Like Coach Greg Adams say, busted Pillsbury biscuit cans. And she's
Shout
right.
out to Jenny.
Shout out to Jenny. No doubt. Much love. That's my Moreno sister, the Scorpio. But what's your take on that, Sir Hill? Because we see it all too often, man. What's your take on that?
All right, we're about to say something. Most men marry potential.
Okay.
Most men marry down. I know we like to say most, women are trying to find a man on their level. Most men don't find a woman on their level. Most men end up settling for a woman who doesn't have the equivalent skills as a wife as he does as a husband. Right. It's a truth that we don't like to talk about because in this feminist society, we like to believe that men have to work their way up to deserve a woman, when the truth is women are not able to cook basic stuff. If you go inside of their cars are not clean, can't keep a clean home, hygiene is off the chain. Take off the underpants. We got all kind of streaks on there. The stuff that used to be like, we don't carry ourselves this way. Women come out in bonnets, don't know how to speak. Women no longer know how to have a conversation. The best you're going to get is text message after text messages and some emojis, because the skills that men used to want and require, they used to be a standard for women who wanted to be mothers and wives. Now we've just settled. All she got to do is have some fake eyelashes, some Remy weave. She got to get a Brazilian butt lift, have a push-up bra, and some heels, some nails that are even hers. And as long as she's giving up the cat, we think that that's good enough. Men typically settle, we marry down, because a lot of modern women,
that's true,
simply don't have the requisite skills for the type of men that they say they want.
No, I totally agree. Many get married young, Sir Hill, and so many don't understand what their power is, because they were so glad just to get mediocrity. Like, Sir Hill, if you was in Ghana or Nigeria, man, they would be hailing you as Sir Hill. They would definitely have a royal wedding for you and me. I'm 6'6", you about 5'10", and chocolate like me. And in other countries, women reverence men. They love them. They treat us well. They treat us like the kings that we are. But men here in America, their self-esteem is so low. It's so low. They just settle for anything. And it burns me because, Harriet Tubman said I could have freed a lot more, Sir Hill, if they didn't already know that they were slaves. So many, if they really knew how much power they had, if they really understood how men in other countries or women in other countries actually respect them, in Colombia or in Brazil or where else, man, they would love a man like you. I know you're a married man, but, if you were a single man.
Coach, can I say something really quickly? This might get me in trouble. I just might get canceled after I say this. Men make the mistakes. They no longer have options once they get committed. Oh, I know I probably shouldn't have said this because
hold on. Say it again. Say it real slow, Sir Hill. And listen, guys, I need the fruit of Islam to get my subscriptions up, because damn Sir Hill will get me to lose subscribers tonight.
Listen, most men lose because as soon as you get a woman and you get serious,
right,
you lose your options. I know this is going to sound controversial.
Right.
But too many of you men get lazy, you get comfortable, and she becomes the center of your world. And what you don't realize is most women respect a man that's wanted by other women. And as soon as you lose that zest that pulled her in, you lose respect and you ultimately lose power.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. You know, when a man is too desperate to hop into a relationship, right? Women want men. Women want the men that other women want. And many times, if that woman didn't like that man, but he gets a better looking woman than her, she wants that man even more because in her mind, that man symbolizes status and power. You know, because he was able to pull something better than her. That's why I keep telling men, she only respects power and strength. Once men let that resonate, they'll be like Dr. King, let freedom ring. Let it ring from the prestigious hilltops of Georgia. They'll understand that that's all women respect is power and strength. You got to come into the relationship understanding how to broker for power instead of being a saboteur of your own ignorance. And that's why a lot of men are slaves of their own ignorance, Sir Hill, because they don't know how to broker for power. Let me finish listening to what...
Coach, I got one good one for you real quick.
All right,
fellas,
go ahead.
this is, I'm going to clip this with fellas. Listen to this. She is more likely to stay if you got the option to leave. Oh, my goodness. Fellas, if you get the option to leave, she is more likely to stay. Fellas, don't lose your options. Be respectable, be responsible, be a man of integrity. You know what I mean.
Right. That's a sad. That's for the Leos in the house. That's savage. That is so true. Sir. I need somebody to pin that at the 147 mark. And I've always said that she's more likely to stay when she realizes you got options. And that's so true. Because they realize that once you get away from them, Sir Hill, oh my goodness, you have so many young, fine, tight tenderonis. You know, what was that song Bobby Brown made? I Want Me a Tenderoni.
Yep.
I think Bobby Brown said something about tenderoni. But when a man has options, women are more likely to stay. And that's true, man. It's very true. That's why men should never do anything based on feelings, but should also always do things based on power. And like my man Top Gun said, salute to the chat. Keep your, what do you say? Let your nuts hang. Let me ask you this question, Sir Hill. When you began to let your gonads hang, what did it do for your psyche as a man when your nuts began to hang?
It gave me power.
Talk about it.
So the things in terms of business, and I mean this in life, the confidence of being myself and letting my nuts hang. And I'm being as graphic as I can because I need men to understand we try to polish it up and make it sound sweet. No, let your nuts hang. This is a sign of confidence and self-respect, a man who is confident in his own skin. This comfort, this ability to be myself and to be unapologetic has made people gravitate to me. I've won business deals. I've won relationships. I've won opportunities. I've won the respect of people who I respect, because when you let your nuts hang, it is a sign to the world that you are confident in your own skin. And that if you choose to be a part of my life, then it's a benefit for you. But if you don't, life is going to keep on moving because I'm confident my nuts are swinging and I'm keeping on moving.
Man, you're a nut, man. You're a nut, Sir Hill. Hold on for a minute. Let me first listen to what Ingram is saying, then we'll get to the next one about culture, and we're going to look at things at the meso level. Meaning there's a lot of inflated egos now. I'm thinking they deserve better than what they are actually really worth, but they don't really bring anything of substance to the table, to the point, Ingram, that a lot of men are getting stung. They're getting stung in the courts. They're getting stung in relationships. And now Miles Bridges is about to get stung because he's about to have what's called ego. Yeah. Miles Bridges, Ingram's about to get ego dystonia. And it basically means...
That's a major fumble, man. I shook my head because... But I mean, like, you deal with a situation like this, okay? Miles Bridges is 24 years old.
Yep, he's a baby.
And what we find a lot of times is that a lot of these young men, when they put themselves in these positions in life, it can happen to anybody. I have kids too, right. None of us is perfect as parents or whatever. But what I find interesting is that with a lot of these young men, he's married at 24 years old, has a baby. The young lady doesn't even have his last name. in that scenario, in that situation, a lot of these young men don't have anybody really in their ears. What they have is, because they've been successful, is a lot of enablers. And what happens is they're afraid to give them straight truth, because they're afraid that they'll get cut out of the money. So they won't tell these kids, look, man, hell no, don't do that. What are you doing? You're crazy. Why are you marrying this chick at 24 years old? You're, in a situation where that could have been prevented. But now he's in a situation, in an environment where he married her. He's in a household. We don't know what's going on in that household, whether he's a monster or whether she's a provoker. We don't really know, because
that's a good point. Right. Excellent. Right. Right. And we're gonna get into that in a minute, Ingram. But we talked about relationship inflation, and you're right, he doesn't. So I'm gonna ask you a question, Sir Hill. When is the last time you had ego dystonia, meaning you were crying in silence and you were broken, and when did you spread your wings like that group called Troop back in the 90s and fly away? When did you experience your last case of true ego dystonia?
January of this year, live on one of my shows.
Oh, wow. Talk about it.
Yeah, it was an ugly cry. It's one of those I couldn't even fix myself. It was the ugly cry. But what it was is breaking away from opinions, and you finally realize you don't need that. Like a lot of men have. So we get pain from what other people do, but it's sustained because we self-inflict, because we ruminate. I love the words you use. We ruminate. We constantly cogitate on what's going wrong, instead of shaking from that and saying, I want better and I can have it.
Right.
A lot of us, we stay in pain because we sit on nails, and you ain't got to sit on that. You ain't got to sit there. And so once I made the declaration that I'm not afraid to lose anybody, I would rather lose, this gonna sound terrible, I would rather lose the people closest to me in terms of relationship than to lose myself, because a man that is lost within himself is bound to lose everything that he has, including the people he loves.
Yes, sir.
So after I made that decision, and notice I said decision, one had nothing to do about my feelings. I made that decision. That was the last day that I decided to live in that word that you called.
Right. You begin to live in abundance, and you're right. When a man can be willing to walk away and stand in his dignity as a man, he's no longer a saboteur to his own ignorance. He's no longer a slave to what others think. You're right. I'm beginning to live like that. I don't care if you're down with me, I'm gonna rock with you. But if you decide to leave, take your ass on. I'll be fine. Because if you know anything about Leo men, we don't stop, Sir Hill. We just keep rising. We are just like the fingers. We go in the fire, but we come up even more determined. And don't ever laugh at a Leo, because you ever laugh at us, oh, we're going to get you. We're going to come back even more stronger. Don't ever laugh. Make us think you like us. But we ever find out you laugh and you say, oh, Sir Hill can't do it. Oh, we're going to be behind the scene, cooking up a master plan. You remember that song back in the day, thinking of a master plan. That's what they used to say back with the Gen X, man.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to be thinking of a master plan. Don't ever tell a Leo he can't win. Those are words of invigoration, because we're going to show you that we're going to come up, and not only come up in king style. The greatest compliment that you can give me to tell me that I can't do it. Don't ever tell me I can't do it, because I'm gonna prove to you that I will do it. Because it's that fire from within, man. It's that fire, it can't be quenched, and it can't be stopped, man. I'm gonna show you guys something that goes on in other cultures that oftentimes don't happen here in America. And my niece just got married recently, Sir Hill, to a brother from Ghana. He's Ghanaian, and I'm gonna show you guys what we tolerate here in America. Men in other countries, Sir Hill, they don't tolerate what we tolerate. So hold tight. Let me pull this up. Hold tight.
Yes, I've walked away from and divested myself from the things that we celebrate in Black culture that's trash.
So you make that observation as an outside spectator of the Black community.
No, I
just want to make sure I'm getting clarity on what I'm asking you.
So the clarity is that I made that observation.
How the men actually take.
All right, so
how the culture is different.
I'm talking about
culture. Question. When you think about the American experience, about patriarchy and how the men actually take care and run their families, what's the biggest difference that you see in America, how American men more or less compromise their power versus being in Ghana where the men have a patriarchy and the women respect and honor their men? What's the biggest difference you see being here in America?
A guy can meet a woman and they can decide to go to a restaurant and then buy like a nice ring and then they put it on there and then boom, marriage begins. But back home in our culture, it is not about a man or the guy and the woman thing. It's a family thing.
Family, right.
If I'm a guy
Right.
and I met a woman, I have to tell my family, and my family have to organize themselves. They have to send somebody to go to the woman I found. They have to go to the woman's family and then arrange a day for these two families to
Right.
meet.
Right.
Fine. That is the initial stage. After that, then this my family, that is my mom, my dad, if they are still alive, if they are not, there has to be a family head. We
Right.
have something that we call family head.
Right.
Okay. Let me explain family head, for example. Family head is not like here as you understand. When they say family head, here in America, you think always is the father of the house. But in Africa, when you say family head, there's nothing like that.
Right.
It's not the father of the house. Family head. Every family has somebody appointed to be the entire family. So if I have 10 kids, I have 10 brothers, and my nephews, my cousins, my uncles, we are all one family. So
Right.
they're going to appoint the oldest person, somebody to represent that entire family. So when we say family head, that is the family head I'm talking about. All right.
Right.
So if your parents are not alive and then marriage is about to begin, what they do is the family head have to step in, and then he has to done all the necessary ceremony that has to be done. Okay. Then after we see the woman's family, then they arrange a particular day for these two families to meet. Now when they meet, they have to ask the man, and then they have very well that, are you very sure that this woman that you have seen is the woman that you really want to be with? If he say yes, now they have to send somebody to go to the woman's family, and then the woman's family have to call the girl and sit the girl down and then ask the girl that, hey, do you know this guy? He's coming here and he's saying that.
And so, guys, that's the difference in Ghanaian culture. They have culture, and that's the sign of what you call a true patriarchy, where the men actually lead and run their families and their communities, and where the women respect their men. Something we used to have in the past, but we don't have it now. That's why our communities are so fractured and broken, because men don't know how to stand on power. Keep listening to this brother. He is the family member of my wife's husband, my niece's husband. He's from Ghana.
He has seen you and he wants to marry you. Do you agree in front of your parents? And then the guy's parents, so the girl will officially agree there. So when the girl agree, before marriage arrangement and ceremony begin from these two families, so then they set a date and then they do it. So now let me tell you the downside of this. Okay, the downside of this is when all these things are done, because it is not done between just the man and the woman that are going to be in the marriage relationship, but it's done through the family wise. It is not easy to break. And when you go through that as a woman, you have to be submissive. Even though whenever there is a decision in the family,
right,
the final decision is authorized by the man.
By the father, yes, right.
By the father.
By the father, right.
That's the final decision, have to be authorized by. That doesn't mean that a woman, you don't have a say
have
or
input.
you don't have a
yes,
input.
Sir, right.
You suggest it. If you suggest something, the man also bring share his idea, and then if it's something that the two decide to go with, fine, the man authorize it, boom, and then it's done. But the woman initially don't get out to initiate anything without the consent of the father. It doesn't happen like that.
Right.
In Africa, we don't do that.
Right. I want to ask you a question, Mike, while you're thinking. Is Africa a matriarchy or a patriarchy? And when you look at America, would you say America is more matriarchal than patriarchal?
You see, those terms, right? Let me say those terms. When you want to bring those terms into like culture-wise in the marriage-wise, it doesn't really work. It doesn't work because here in America, there's nothing like that. They don't follow no culture.
Right.
Whatever seems to be good, because one thing that really causes the whole mess is that the freedom is. You see, we are human beings. When you give a human being too much freedom, they override it. You see, but back home, though we are human beings, we don't have all that freedom for ourselves because somebody has to regulate. No matter how old you are, you still under somebody. Even if you marry and you leave your parents, you're still under the government who control the country.
Yes, sir.
You are not of yourself.
Right.
So no matter how old you are still under somebody. So don't ever think that because you are married or you've separated from your parents and now you have the other half, which is a woman or a man, to be with, to make a future plan or to make a future family. No, you are still under somebody. That is why when you commit, the government or the federal has to send a police or whoever.
And guys, that's what we had in the past. I
let go of it. I seen how it propelled me to be successul.
We had order.
All right, I don't want to hop on
Hold tight, guys. But that's what we had in the past. We had order in relationships, and the communities were a lot more balanced, but we don't have that balance anymore. And that's why our communities are faltering so bad now. And I'm a firm guess that, or a firm believer that many men now don't know how to broker for power in relationships, and it's hurting them. It's hurting a lot of men because when men know how much power they have, they don't tolerate disrespect. They stand firm on their square. They love their woman, but they'll check their woman when she's wrong. And men from other cultures, once again, they don't tolerate that. So
half, which is a woman or a man,
guys that relies on you, this thing is slowing down.
To make a future plan or to make a future family. No, you are still under somebody. That is why when you commit, the government or the federal has to send a police or whoever.
Yes, sir.
Because no matter how rich, how poor, no matter what condition you find yourself, you are still under somebody. So as a woman, you are always under your husband, and then the husband is also always under. The husband is always also under the protection of God.
Right.
Which most people don't want to hear the name God, but it exists. Whether you like it or not, it is something that is there. You cannot avoid it.
Right.
You can get away with it, and if you're okay, that's fine. But it's something that is part of us.
So
human beings per se is not free until you die.
Yes. Right.
You can never be free until you die.
Right.
No matter what stage, when you are little, you are under your parents' control. If your parents are not there, your other siblings, they are under your control. When you grow up, you are under somebody's control. You will be under the government control, even if you are not under your no matter until you die, you will still go to be. It's a law. So whenever here in America, when the women marry or the men marry, they think they are for themselves. You see, they are for themselves. They don't want to.
They're individualistic.
No, that is where you get yourself more into somebody.
Yes,
but right now, whatever decision you make, because first of all, you have to understand the quote and quotation that says marriage. Marriage means to tie, to join something together. So when you are joining something together, how come you're going to make a decision without letting the other half know it?
Right.
That means the concept and the understanding of marriage, you don't get it. You don't understand it.
They don't understand it, right?
You see, you don't understand it. So for you to understand the concept, the basic function of what the marriage is, right, is to join. That means the ideas need to be joined. The authorization, whatever it is, it needs to be joined. Whatever decision that has to be made in the family has to be a joint. You understand that? And the final, whoever makes the final authorization is the man who makes the final authorization.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether you, being the woman, you make more money in your job than the man making. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He's still the final decision maker.
A man.
Right.
So, Sarhel, what do you say about these men that are dealing with women? They make way more than their husbands, but because they make more than their husbands, they feel like they got the final say. There was a woman in Africa, she's an oil tycoon, and she said she's a billionaire, but she said, I might make way more money than my husband, but she said, in our culture, my husband is still the man. What do you say about how men broker, they don't broker for power, where the women make more than them, but the man defer power because she makes more in the relationship? How would you deal with a situation like that?
Well, number one, he has got to do a couple things. He's got to stop defining himself by what's in his pockets. That's one of the things that a lot of men do, particularly in this culture. You get a little bit of money, a nice little BMW, and a nice little Benzo, right? And you start defining yourself by that stuff. Who a man is goes beyond what he is able to earn. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if a woman is leveraging her earning as power over, this speaks to her mindset. She's thinking masculine. So that speaks to the mindset on both of their parts. And the way you deal with that is address the mindset. If we're using money as leverage, the woman is, then that means she's not looking at the relationship. She's trying to have some dominance in in a certain area. So she has to address that, and he has to be sure not to accept that, because once that door is open and she can leverage power, she can, because his self-esteem is shot, she can get him to do anything because he's not standing on anything.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so, I like something your wife said. She was talking about there was a situation when, it shows you that we live in a culture where they don't really value men. And your wife was when she was talking about good behavior concerning the women were giving her, they were giving her high fives. But what does your wife say that women need to do so here to garner the honor and respect of a man that caused so much backlash?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of what you said.
Right. So you were saying that in the past, your wife was talking to a panel. She was talking to some women about, I don't know what it was, and they were giving her high fives because she was, upping women and saying women should do this and do that. But then when the subject changed about how women should treat men, then all of a sudden the women got upset with her.
Oh, yes. So what it was is she was, and this is going to take another turn. She was talking about women. You can't be having a high body count expecting a high value man. And when she said that, you can imagine what happened. People looked and said, well, you a divorced mother of four, because they were looking at her Facebook, because that's what women do. If they should discredit a woman who's speaking truth, they got to find something wrong. And it just showed you that women, it's all about women until you deviate and you hold women accountable. And that's for man or woman. And for a woman who's married for 15 years to a husband, all kids by one person who's quote unquote done it right as we could. And for her to get that backlash just shows that there is a troubled mindset, that when somebody who is giving you advice on how to do it right and how to make better decisions, we will send that person to the stake and we'll keep on getting fed information that's simply not working for us.
Yeah. And that's something I think most women do know, but they don't care or they try to hide it. But, you and I are both Leo men, and what women don't understand is that when a man really loves her, when a man want to make you bone of his blown flesh of his flesh, you don't want to ever go to, Texas and, and you're down in Texas and they say, oh, yeah, that's you, Sir Hale? And you might, what the hell you mean that's me? And you found out that Texas A&M football team ran through it. You don't want that for your woman. It just goes against our nature as men. I mean, they might say, well, that man is insecure. They got a damn thing to be with being insecure. That man is not secure because of your choices, but he's not insecure by default. See, people don't understand that people's choices can make that person not feel secure in the relationship, but it's not because that person is insecure by default. That person doesn't feel secure in the choices that person made. And that security is a violation of their boundaries. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
It's a violation of their boundaries, man. And so, this is how men operate. Men are just wired that way. We're not saying you got to be perfect, but at the end of the day, the less the better, because men by nature, they want to be proud. Leo men want to be proud. When we go out in the town, we want to hold our heads up and be proud, man. But, you don't want to know that, the football team, the basketball team, had their fun with her, and you thinking you getting something that's a prize or prize worthy, and then you're frustrated. And I think once women understand that was just a norm back in the day, then they will start raising their standards so they can get the men that they want. But nowadays, Sir Hale, they expect so much, but they bring so little. And Teddy Pendergrass once again say it's good to love somebody and somebody to love you back. And Sir Hale, we're gonna do a show. I think I'm gonna bring it back, and we're gonna do a show. Or I might come on your show and do it, talking about the polygraph. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about it in private. But
Yep. Coach, I want to say something to you on that point. Because you brought up a really good point that I think people need to hear this echoed across the world. Is that projection of he's insecure? Well, let's add a practical example. Don't we all feel one way driving a car with 2,000 miles on it, as opposed to 200,000 miles on it?
Right.
I think in our culture we're so focused on the body that men don't know how to look up under the hood. Like if the rims look nice, the body looks good, the interior looks good. That's not really the car. That's not the car. That's just how the car looks. The car is the engine. It's the stuff that you can't see. And so when a man talks about body count, him not wanting to have all those miles, it's not that he's insecure with himself. He's just got concerns with that car.
Oh, right, no doubt, right? Because now you're talking about pair bonding. You're talking about say Raekwon made her toes curl like that witch on the Wizard of Oz, and you get in and you're just trying to make it get it how you live, how they say it up top. Her body's used to somebody that can make her toes curl, and so she'll say they'll say they're trying to shame me, so little penis energy.
You know what, Kosher? I came up with an acronym that a lot of times women drop men. And the drop stands for she calls you a little dicky. If she can't get away, she gets you on your man. She goes for our reputation. If that doesn't work, she talks about your opinion and your perspective. And the last part, she goes after your pride. So you're right. When that happens with women who've been with multiple men, it's easy for them to drop men based off of what you just said.
Right. Listen, it don't mean that somebody can't be redeemed, but I guess, listen, I call it the penetration principle. Just like women can't have the thought of a man being with another man. Men can look past a woman being with another woman, but when a woman can't have the thought of another man touching her man, because in her mind, she can't have the thought of another man entering her man. And if she has the thought of another man entering her man, that means that man has been conquered. He's a conquered man. She can't have the thought of her man being on his knees and, and I don't want to get too graphic or, doing things that are unsavory. Women can't handle that. They want a man that they can look up to. They want a man, that when they look at him, they got a smile on their face. They're confident. She said, "That's my man." They want a man like Cheryl Crow.
Now you see, I don't want no trouble now. I hope you understand.
They want a woman want a man where she can say, "That's my man. I love him." That's why, Sir Hale, many women cannot. If a man said, "Listen," women get a pass for being bisexual. We need to do a show on that. But a man is not going to get a pass for that. If a woman found out a man had a bi-curious experience, that woman don't want that man anymore because that man has been entered. Her brain can't tolerate it. And I'm okay with it. I respect a woman for having that standard. But then on the flip side, you got to understand that he got standards too. Men got standards too. And, that's how it was back in the day, Sir Hale. But nowadays, as soon as men say they want something, they say, "Oh, you're insecure." And I say, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not secure. I'm not secure knowing that, that car got 200,000 miles on it. Hell no. If I'm going to California or Texas, I need a car with low miles to get me over the border."
Fellas, be okay with leaving her at the lot. If she doesn't meet your standard, leave her at the lot.
Right. And some get mad at it, Sir Hill. And and see, I'm a firm believer, Sir Hill. I don't care. I think women should have stand. Don't bother me at all. I love it when a woman said they don't want a man that's lazy, a man that got 4 and 5 kids by different women. Don't bother me because a woman should have a right to say that's her standard. But on the flip side, don't take it personal when men start having standards too. Men should never feel like they got to be manipulated into accepting less, especially when they've given their best. I'm going to say it again. Men should never have to be manipulated into accepting less when they're giving their best. Does that make sense?
That's facts. Absolutely.
Right. Shout out to my man Tim Howard for that $5 super sticker. He said no fair laws for men equal no marriage. Right. And, a lot of men, it's not that they don't want to get married, Sir Hale, but they are saying, what is the benefit? What is the benefit to getting married in these modern times where, men are not getting the outcomes that they want? If I had a son, I would tell my son, you get the best bang for your buck. Pun intended, no pun intended. You should get the best bang for your buck especially if you put in the work. Don't ever feel guilty to think you got to tolerate, or accept less. You know, so many times, you know, to the women that got sons, you should be telling your sons, baby, you get the best. Some of you women, y'all got boys, y'all know how women operate. So you want to make sure that your son is ready to stand firm in masculine power. If you got boys, you don't want your sons to be hog-washed or hoodwinked or brainwashed into dealing with unsavory women, and him being in a relationship with that woman is not going to love him and treat him right as a man. Men should be in relationships where they feel honored and respected. And Sir Hill, I don't know if you have boys or not, but what do you talk to your sons about? I envy you. What do you talk to your sons about when they come down? Well, maybe they're babies now, but what will you tell your sons as they get older as it relates to broken in relationships with women?
Well, the number one thing is she's got to be smart and have standards. Those are non-negotiable things. She got to have smart standards. She can't be one of those women who goes along to get along. She can't be one of those women who don't like standards and tradition and structure. Like those are like some of the biggest signs of whether or not she's going to be traditional and good for the sons that I'm raising. But to be fair, I teach my daughter the very same thing as well. That you have to be a certain kind of way. You have to think. There's a certain way you conduct yourself, from hygiene to the way you carry yourself to your ability to help somebody. I teach my boys and my girls along the same lines on how to be people that other people benefit from being with. Right. And that's very important. Please listen to what this brother is saying. Then, guys, I'm going to show you something that even in the ecclesiastical world, people are beginning to listen to it, Sir Hill. Where they are talking about how men are being chided, how masculinity is being derided. And it's not only in black communities, it's in all communities. Black men, white men, Asian men, Hispanic men are all going through the same thing. And to those women that have sons, you should be allies for your boys and for your sons, but also for your men, because your men are the safekeepers for you and also for your community. Hold tight.
Jobless or
right.
whatever.
Just because she makes more money,
yes.
he's still the final decision maker.
Just because he makes less money and you, the woman, coming, the woman make more money, doesn't mean that now because you, the woman, make more money, so now you have to make the final decision. No,
the man is still
the man. Is still a man. That less job privilege doesn't take his
responsibility as a man. No doubt. Thank you, man.
We'll continue.
Yeah. Okay. What's your name, brother? Lloyd. So, what part of Ghana are you from?
Eastern region
of Ghana. Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question. So in America, American black men deal with shaming language, right? You know what shaming language is.
Yeah.
And so shaming language might say you're stupid, you're ugly, you're not man enough. How is shaming language dealt with traditional Ghanaian men? How do they deal with women that are shameful and disrespectful with their mouth? How do you guys deal with those women?
It's the same thing everywhere.
It's everywhere, right?
You know, somebody who's bad is bad. Their language, the way they speak to people, if it's just vulgar, it's just bad is bad. You know, it's just how you relate to people. If you understand where somebody's coming from, why they talk that way, though it's a culture, it's something you learn too.
Right.
Coming up.
Right.
So,
but how do they deal with bad behavior? How do they deal with bad behavior?
It's not punished.
In Ghana.
Speech. Freedom of speech is there.
Like being disrespectful to your husband, being disrespectful to a tribal elder. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. How when you come to, you see, like using a bad language, right? In a marriage, in Africa we don't authorize that. We don't encourage that, and that doesn't happen most of the time.
Right.
You hardly see it. Or before you see that happening, or you see that popping up in marriage, that means the marriage is about to fall out.
Right.
Yes, but when the marriage still stands, you will never see a man or a woman raising his or her voice on each other. They don't do that. That means the marriage still stands. But the moment you see misunderstanding, and I mean, all marriages is not 100%.
Right.
It's going to be some ups and downs.
It
doesn't hold for that long. I mean, it comes and go. But raising your voice and then using the F word or whatever word on your husband in Africa, we don't authorize that. The man can decide to report you to your family head. Your family head can call you as a woman and then really address you and then point your mistakes right there for you.
Right.
Yes. Here, there's nothing like that. Once you marry, no one is above.
Right. There's no accountability.
There's no accountability. Yes. They can do whatever. Even your parents cannot even call you to advise you on the marriage that they are in. But back home, even though when you marry, you leave your parents and then have your house or your family as your own, your parents can still call you and they can still give you teachings, give you guidelines. Your wife is saying this, please make sure these things don't happen. And if you need something, I mean, they can explain, they can call you and then, I mean, really brush your face if you don't, if you did something wrong.
Wow, you said, so what do you mean by brush your face?
Brushing your face means telling somebody this was a mistake. Go straight to the point. If it's wrong, say it's wrong.
Right.
And now,
if it's right, it's right.
Only that the man can leave you there with your family.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can
Right.
leave
you there for like a week or two.
Oh, for bad behavior.
For bad behavior.
Right.
You know?
And see, guys, that's the difference in Ghanaian culture and cultures in Africa. You know, there are some women that say they're going to get them an African man, and, you know, fine, get you one. But what you don't understand is that in those cultures, those men don't tolerate disrespect. They hold you accountable. You don't get in a man's face in Ghana, Brazil, Colombia, or any of those countries. They hold you accountable. That is the difference when you go to those cultures. But cultures like America or cultures in the West, we don't have those safeguards. And that's why a lot of men don't get the honor and respect that they want. And that's why, Sir Hill, a lot of men are not wife ready or relationship ready because they don't demand anything and they don't know how to broker for power. Keep listening. Right.
And then before the lady comes back, she has to come, not by herself, she has to come with the entire, not the entire family.
Right.
She has to find some elderly person to come. And when they get there,
yes, sir.
When they get to the man's house,
right,
the lady has to apologize for not repeating this attitude again.
Right.
If that don't happen, the man don't accept it again.
Right. So it sounds like to me accountability plays a major role in the Ghanaian culture. Now let me ask you a question. When you look at American culture, when you look at American culture, we're going to speed up. But when you look at American culture, what's wrong with American culture? When you look at the American culture as it relates to masculinity, what's wrong with the American culture?
First of all, Americans don't have a culture.
My dad.
They follow everything.
Right. We got Mexicans, we got
Africans. They don't have a
but far as, you know, as order, you know, order and family and tradition, what do you see wrong with the American culture as it relates to family, order, male authority and tradition?
Males don't have no say right now.
Yeah. Say it one more time for the audience.
Don't have no say.
Right.
Men
don't
have no say.
They don't have a say. Right.
But women say it's fine.
But does that happen in Africa? So to women that think they can find a better mate in Africa,
that makes a woman here in America so. Gives you so much power. When you have power, you don't think well. Let me put that right. I'm not insulting anyone.
No, I agree.
When you have too much power, you don't think. Then power has been taken from the men, making you, the woman, so strong by putting these men into different categories that they go through a lot of hardship and stuff like that. And then the government also have you women, they have your back. They have your back for punishing these men for just a little mistake. I'm not saying I'm praising men who are not responsible for their kids. No man will give a child and say he's not going to support to raise that child.
Right.
But it depends.
Yeah, no doubt. Andre from Love Crossing Borders, he says the same here in Colombia. My wife's family keeps her focused. And many times, Sir Hill, that's a byproduct of men being in charge and men loving their wives, leading their children, and leading their communities. But see, so many, Sir Hill, want relationships without accountability. Bolo TV said it. He said that many modern women in America, they want the privileges of a man or the power of a man, the privileges of a woman, but the accountability of a child. And because of that, it's causing a chasm in many relationships and many communities. What's your take on what these brothers from Ghana are saying, Sir Hill?
I think it's facts, but I'm really intrigued with what you said is about they want to go over to another country to find men, but they are more strict. So it's easier. Like, look, there is some grace over here for American men. Over in other countries, look, certain stuff you might not get a second chance. So I'm intrigued with what you said because I find that so true.
Oh yeah. And other countries, what men in America tolerate, they don't tolerate that. And I'm sadly, in Colombia and also in Brazil, and it's sad, they have what's called femicide. They take women's lives in those countries, man, and it's unfortunate. But also in Ghana or Nigeria, you don't hit men over there, because if you hit a man, the cops don't do anything, they'll watch. But if you hit a man over there, you might lose your life or get severely beat. But that's why they don't understand that men in America are very tolerant. That's why women from other countries love American men so much, because we're more tolerant and we've been conditioned to be that way. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
No doubt, no doubt. Let me finish looking at this part, and then we're going to bring up this next part. Hold on.
Depends on that. Before a man make his decision on his child, the attitude of that man depends on the woman that he got. The woman that he got married.
You got it back, right.
When you turn the man off, men, we are raising him. He's going to blow everything out. So when he blow everything out, it might look like he doesn't want to take care of the child. But meanwhile, that is not the point. But the point is, you, the woman, you have frustrated him so much that he has to come up with all this.
Right.
But when you do things right, no man on this earth will bring a child or bring a son or a child to this world and say, I'm not going to be responsible for that.
Let me ask you this question. We got to go for the wedding, but women that hit men in Ghana, punch or assault their men, their husbands, is that tolerated? If a woman hit a man in Ghana, what are the repercussions?
I don't even think women hit men in Ghana.
It doesn't happen. You can never do
say it one more time. Because see, men in America tolerate it, and so our men in America.
In Africa, you would never see a woman
raising a hand to hit a man.
Right.
Hit a man.
Right.
No.
What?
Beat down.
Say it one more time.
You get the beat down, and then the cops will be standing right there.
Right.
And you get the beat down.
Right.
If it does happen, which I've seen before, if it does happen, the man is going to retaliate in a very bad way.
In a bad way,
trust
right.
me, the police can be there, the public can be there.
And they still
if they knew you, the woman who you started it, they're going to make sure your husband deals with you.
Right.
Before they intervene.
Right.
Police will stand there and look at it. Nobody will help you.
Right.
You don't want to be jailed for that.
No, and the reason why I ask you brothers that, because there are some American women that say, okay, I want to marry African men. I say, okay, yeah, but African culture is different.
It's different.
Men in America are too egalitarian, meaning we tolerate more.
But
in other countries, y'all don't tolerate that.
But we know we here. So
right.
We're going to tolerate it because we're here in
America. Right, because you're here in America, right.
Yes.
Right.
Now,
So,
if I happen to have American woman, right, now because I'm living on the soil.
Right. You have to follow the rules of the land.
She might once in a while, she might try to hit, which I don't have a right to respond back. But in case we are in my country where that is a taboo, you don't do that.
It's a taboo, right.
It's a taboo.
Right.
That's not supposed to happen.
Right.
When we get there, you, the woman, even though you're American woman, I'm going to tell you here, woman don't raise a hand on the man.
Yes.
So be careful. If I did something wrong, just talk to me. Don't raise your hand.
They know that's a taboo. It's a no-no.
It's a complete taboo. You don't do that.
You don't do that.
In certain culture,
right.
If it does happen, right, you, the woman, your family, they have to buy a goat, a sheep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or a fowl. You have to take it to the man's house to plead, to beg the man for that thing.
Right.
Because it's a big offense.
Right. So let me ask you a question, and I'm gonna let you guys go. We're gonna go in for the wedding. If men, what should American black men that are considering dating Ghanaian women or African women in general? I know the cultures are different, the tribes are different, but what would you guys say is the biggest difference between ADOS women versus women from Ghana or just African women in general, like from Nigeria? We know they have some of the same similarities, but how are they different in you guys' opinion?
The respect, man. To me, it's more about respect. Our people back home, they still have the respect.
They have respect. Yes, sir.
No matter how they disagree, the respect is there.
And what does that respect look like? What does it look like?
It's more so of the man being the head.
Yes.
Yeah, they always.
At the end of the day, they know the man is the head.
You are older than them. You are younger than them.
They know the man
Once
is
they
the
see you as a male structure, that respect is there.
It's always there.
It's automatic. It doesn't change.
Right.
Yeah. So, but when you come here, it's very, very limited.
It's very limited.
Yeah,
yes.
very limited. Woman see herself as. They don't even see that equality. I don't buy it because they don't even. They think they are.
They do. The money, financial. If she make more than you, oh man.
But her making more in your country, like I told, there was a woman, there was a billionaire in Nigeria. She was an oil tycoon, and she made billions of dollars. But she said this: she said, "I don't care how much money I make. When I come home, my husband still runs my family." She said her money did not dictate
her being the head of the family. The man was the head regardless if he made less. In Africa, right.
It's a culture that doesn't change.
Right.
But now, it looks like because of traveling issues and stuff like that.
So, Sarhel, what are you hearing, man, from these brothers as they talk about the variances in culture and how they don't tolerate what men of ADOS descent tolerate? Tell me what you're hearing.
All I can think of is that men today, we've got to create culture, particularly as black men. We have got to develop some culture, some standard of behavior, some ethics, and how we do things, and then establish some parameters for what we will and what we won't accept. Like, as I hear those guys, they are sure about how things are. A lot of American men, we don't know. We're trying to figure it out as we go. I think we got to develop a strong culture now, and there's got to be standards among men in general. In other words, if I'm with a woman and I'm in a relationship with her, and it doesn't work out because of bad behavior, it should not be so easy for, and I mean real bad behavior, not preferences, but bad behavior. It shouldn't be that there's another guy that'll come along and we'll completely accept that, because what that does is it perpetuates bad behavior. So men got to create a culture where we have standards and we got to stand on those. That's what I heard as they were speaking.
I want to show you something, Sarhel. I know you got to go, but you know, in the white communities and some of the white churches, this woman has done a good job. You know, she talks about different things related to the Bible, but she and this guy named Pastor Mark, because I told you guys that there are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to be optimized, and understanding faith and spirituality is paramount to the function of a man. But the topic that she was talking about is we have a crisis. And I'm gonna let you listen to about 5 minutes of. I know you got to go in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And but we have a crisis in masculinity, Sarhel. When would you say that crisis started? And some would say that we got to burn down the current community in order to bring it back into fruition. But when did that crisis start, in your opinion?
To me, late 90s, 2000s. Like, that was when when they took men off of television shows who were smart, educated, and providers, and the husbands on television shows and on movies were these buffoons, were these ignorant men who couldn't make decisions. When that happened, we saw a turn in society.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm gonna listen to Jan Markell. She's a theologian, but she's talking about something that a lot of men are saying. Hold tight, and a lot of men are dealing with. Let me see. Hold tight. Let me see if I can. Hold tight. We're gonna look at this a little bit of that, and then I'm gonna let you go, and we're gonna talk about solutions moving forward. So. Let's listen to what she's saying about what men are going through, why we have a crisis.
Comic books depict men as weak, bumbling, unreliable, greedy, irate, selfish, dangerous, unfit for authority, and or stupid. He writes some show men as cute and their ineptitude easily tolerated.
Hold tight,
but in general, they show...
And once again, guys, this is fair use. As a disclaimer, let me push the button. I don't want them to tag me with a content ID, but I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they won't, but you know, YouTube is funny. Some things they'll let you get away with, and some things they won't. So fair use, guys, fair use as we break down and talk about the struggles of masculinity. And then after that, Sir Hill, we're going to talk about solutions. This is fair use. Warning, enforcement agents, take notes. The rights of these people will not be abused forever. This film is mostly for critique and it's for fair use. All right. So hold tight.
Masculinity as toxic and even deadly. And then he says, belittling men is popular, modern, and trendy. Tell a joke about men's incompetence or laziness, and you're sure to get a laugh. Tell a similar joke about women, and society will label you politically incorrect and maybe even a hater. Gender studies at most major universities are more about male bashing than about the objective study of this complex and important feature of human life. They teach students to see men and boys as entitled and oppressive, but in fact, they are in crisis. So, Mark Henry, welcome back to the studio.
Jan, thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
Men are in crisis, really.
Men are in crisis. Families are in crisis. The nation's in crisis. Church is in crisis. Why? Because we need godly men. God has a certain design He's created men to fulfill. And when we remove them from that role, we all suffer.
Let me just say up front that Pastor Mark Henry is lead pastor at Revived Church in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, northwest suburb of Minneapolis. By the way, it is evangelical free. And he also is the co-host for our bi-monthly Understanding the Times activities, which we just are off of one mark back on June 9th. I'm going to play a clip in just a minute about that. We actually had over 33 nations watching that particular night. Couple 100,000 viewers, and so fascinating to use the beast system technology to get the gospel.
I was so thankful for Jesus. I'm reading through the Bible, and my question is, what kind of person do I want to marry? The Bible says an excellent wife who can find her worth is far above jewels. And then I discovered in the book of Psalms, it says excellent men are rare. As I just started reading through the Bible, I realized that as I looked around in my world, excellent men are rare. So I just started reading the Bible like, Lord, you got to give me the principles to live by. I started putting this together, and then our children came along, and then my daughter, she's starting to get about 8 years old, Jan, and I'm like, she's got to make a really good choice. She gets one shot at this.
So this guy got a book called The Man Code, Sir Hill Speaks, and, you know, he's talking about how excellent men are rare, but also excellent women are rare. I know you got to go in a few minutes, but there is a crisis in masculinity. What was it about your current wife that made you say, wow, this is the one? And what are your fears for your daughters and your sons as time go
on? The first question I'm not completely sure how to answer yet. Okay. I gotta give a little time because I didn't really marry because that was the one. I was 19 when I got married, and I was 18 when I proposed, or something like that. I don't know. I'm hitting 35 and I got a gray hair. I don't remember, but I was 19 when I got married for sure. Yeah, I was 18 when I proposed. So I made a decision because we shacked up. We went against Jesus, and I wanted to make her an honest woman. And so because of that, I didn't want to contribute to a culture where we saw baby mamas around. So we made a decision that it would be best to start a family. So that was that. But I do agree with you that there is a crisis of masculinity. And the way that we overcome that is two things. One, a lot of us think that we just have to work on the men, and we do for the most part. But a lot of it too, we got to train our young daughters. Men have to be active in their daughter's life to model for them a better example of what it is, about what masculinity really is, not just what a man does, but who he is. So I think that there is a crisis, but the way we overcome that is men have to be intentional about their sons and also intentional about the way we raise our daughters as well.
Yeah, that's powerful. Let me let you look at a little bit more at this, and I'm gonna let you go. I know you got to go. Hold tight.
As a pastor at that point of already 10 years, I had seen the brokenness in homes. And so we would go out and have breakfast, and we started jotting these down, and that's really the formation of the book for my daughter.
And you're going to list 12 essentials every man needs to know. I'm going to refer to that in just a moment. But you say the book is transformational and transferable. Why don't you explain that?
The man code, in order to be transformational, has got to be biblical, right? There's lots of rhetoric. The Bible calls it worldly and empty chatter in the world. And that's what you find so often when you go and talking with people and studying different things about the family or men and women or the church. There's just a lot of chatter. And we've got to get back to the Bible.
Anyway,
that's where transformation comes.
There's a book called The Man Code, and you're beginning to see it even more in bodies of faith, where people are understanding there's a crisis not only with our boys, but with men. And like I said, spirituality is part of understanding what men are dealing with. Sir Hill, listen, I want to ask you a question before you sign off. This has been a great stream, but I think that we need to find solutions moving forward. So this is a part of the show.
This is the part of the show where we find solutions.
All right, Sir Hill, what are the solutions moving forward if your sons right now are standing before dad at 21? And you said something that's very powerful. Many times men, it doesn't mean the woman that you guys are a bad person, but we married too soon or we married too early because sometimes we think that's all we can get. But what would you tell your boys right now if they were if they were 21 talking to daddy right now? What would you tell your sons?
First of all, number one thing is we're going to work on your foundation. Your foundation as a man, we're going to work on that confidence. Second thing is we're going to build work ethic, because life is about men. The only winners are men who have a strong passion and work ethic. The third thing is make sure you understand how money works. If you understand how money works, you're gonna be able to make some moves and control your life. The fourth thing is we got to make sure your faith is intact. If I can work on all these different things, and then I say getting into the gym, make sure you pump that iron, you're a powerful young man. So I would tell them to focus on things that are core to them, so that by the time they want to get married and bring a woman into their world, they already have the infrastructure set up, and all she has to do is become an interior decorator, because the hard stuff has already been taken care of.
Right. What resonated the most with you, Sir Hill, from this show and tonight? What resonated and what confirmed what you already knew?
Well, first of all, the fact that just me. So, as a 34-year-old, I'll be 35 August 6th. Shout out to the August babies, right? So, seeing somebody like you, who I can see my thought patterns, I can see myself maturing because I see somebody like you, is that the track that I'm on, I'm not just wandering. So that's a really big thing. And I'm hoping that other men as well who have these questions, who might have pent up frustration, turn resentment and anger and rage, will start to see this and think and hope and know that they don't have to stay that way. They can simply make a decision to live life differently, to own who they are, and then let the chips fall where they might be. So that's what I got out of this stream. And it's good to hear intelligence go back and forth instead of just arguing about how bad women are, finding those solutions.
No doubt, man. And, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on the stream. And we're going to do another show at some point talking about why they need to get a polygraph. We're going to break it down.
Yes, sir.
Because we know they're going to lie. But it's been a great stream, Sir Hill, man. I'm so honored to have you. This stream was impromptu. I'm going to have a show tomorrow talking about out-of-body experiences. Plan to have LAR Movement and another young man on. It's going to be a very good show. Talking about the spirit world. Many times we minimize that there is life after death. And, that the life to come is actually more real than the life that we're living in now. And so we're going to have a powerful show on tomorrow, man. And like I said, man, it was an awesome show, man. It was funny, man. It was engaging. Every time I get with my Leo brethren, man, we have a good time. You, Chantel, me and Chantel was rolling. Talk about them long titties. She said them long titties. Chantel, man. Chantel's funny, man. And the thing about Leos, man, we're very bold. We're brutally honest. We don't mean nothing by it. We're just honest, and sometimes us being honest gets us in trouble. But in our mind, if we're not honest, then there's no other way to be but to be honest. So like I said, man, it was a great stream, man. It was very invigorating. Shout out to BJ the Hitman for that $25 super sticker. Thank you, brother. And that's a deal, right?
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
I appreciate it, brother.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Sir, I want to ask you a question, man. You came up with the name Sir Hill Speaks. It sounds British. Why'd you come up with that surname? Why'd you come up with that?
To be honest, I can't even take credit for it. In my real life, everybody thinks that I'm from the military, and everywhere I go, and I'm not even joking, they call me Sir Hill. So I didn't even really come up with it. I just took what people call me in real life and said, what, Sir Hill? Let me add the speaks to it. And then Sir Hill Speaks came. So I really can't take credit for it.
Okay, that Leo personification, man, it always wins. It always wins. So once again, guys, this has been an awesome stream with Sir Hill Speaks. I'm so grateful, brother, for doing the stream with you. You're a funny dude, man. We got to do it again, man. And I'll come on your stream the next time. I'll be in the lion's den with you, man. I'll be the old Barbary lion leading you through the wilderness.
I'm getting ready to put a show together. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you so much for having me on. I always appreciate it.
No doubt, man. Thank you, man, for the support you've given me over the years, and you showing me love through donations. I appreciate that, man. And I look forward to continue to support you in the future, man. And once again, much love and blessings. So, guys, we're gonna sign off. Get ready for another powerful show on tomorrow. Thank you again for Sir Hill. And in less than 2 minutes, guys, what did you guys get from the show? You can leave your comments and I'll read it. But guys, drop some comments in. What did you guys get from this show, and how was this show beneficial for your psyche? Because the purification of the mind starts with self-awareness. Until you become self-aware, you will continue to allow people to disrespect you and also to dishonor you. So what did you guys get from the show? If anything, and if you didn't get anything, or if you did get some, leave your comments, 1 or 2 comments, and because I'm about to get off in a minute, I got to go. But what did you guys get from the show? How was it beneficial to the ladies that are watching? You know, what does this mean to you, the ones that want traditional men? So leave your comments, guys. If not, I'm gonna give you guys about 2 minutes, but if not, I'm gonna sign off, and I'm gonna drop some fire for your mind on tomorrow.
Fire for your mind.
Because
the kosher clinician.
We need to understand what men want in relationships, and men, you need to start demanding what you want, especially if you put in the work, especially if you're a good man, and especially if you're not dusty, because, you know, we got some dusty men too. But if you're a good man and you put in work, you need to demand what you want. So once again, shout out to my sponsors of the show tonight. My man, can't think of that brother's name. Oh my goodness. BJ the Hitman, Chris Norwood, and James Turner. You guys are the sponsors for the show on tonight. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything you guys have done. So what did you guys get from the show before I sign off? Oh, let me read what Dre said. Dre said that I got confirmation that not every country has the same mindset as U.S. and the U.K. No doubt, Dre, I totally agree with you 1,000%. And Dre, I think what the biggest difference is, brother, is that in other countries, they have more of a patriarchal norm and standard where the men are men and they don't tolerate disrespect. Men set order, structure, and balance. And when men are not standing in heteronormative power and masculinity, we're not only not protecting our women, but we're not protecting ourselves. And so you're right, Dre. I was talking to El Guapo, and we were talking about how in Colombia and also in Brazil, when I was in Brazil, the things that, you know, we tolerate over here, those men don't tolerate. And I saw it firsthand. And so to the women that want to date men from other countries, that's good. But be aware that those men don't tolerate disrespect in those foreign countries. So shout out to Dre. And Dre, at some point, I spoke with Top Gun, man. Let's do a show. I got a powerful show lined up for us. And so a few more of the people I want to ask. So let me know. You got my email, my number. Hit me up, and we'll definitely chop up some comprehensive game. So guys, anybody else want to add to the comments? I need to start getting a live teleprompter where I can add to my system, and you guys can call in and do live. But anybody else want to add to what they got from the show? My man, Lizzie the Man said, I learned that us men in North America need to take more charge to disrespect. No doubt. You're right, Lizzie the Man. I totally agree with you, brother. You're right. And that's why I do what I do, especially for the young men. I didn't have this information as a young man growing up. I didn't have nobody to talk to me about relationships and how to broker for power, how to demand respect. I didn't have it. Many young men didn't have it. But you guys, the Zennials and the Millennials, you guys are blessed because you guys have what we didn't have as men. We didn't have the structure. We didn't have the balance. We didn't have nobody pouring into us. And so I count on the privilege as not only a man that's seasoned with time and grace, but also as a licensed therapist to teach you how to remodify your thought processes and not be a slave to modern thinking, and also to some of these modern women that don't respect you and honor you as men, because I want you men to know you have inherent value, you have inherent respect. And once you understand how much value and respect you have as a man, then you would no longer tolerate disrespect, but you would start demanding what you're worth. And you know, Dre is in Colombia, I believe, and my man Top Gun is over there, I believe, right now. And once again, guys, they just have women from other countries have a greater respect. It doesn't mean that those women don't have issues. It doesn't mean those women don't have game. It doesn't mean that those women are not going to be women. Women are women at their base level, but their temperament and their socialization would determine how they operate, more or less. Shout out to BJ the Hitman. If it first starts with accountability. If you can't be accountable for your own actions, you can't move forward. Men are definitely more accountable than our counterparts. I totally have to agree. I agree with you 100%. And Big Smooth said that I'm going to have to watch the replay, but stop letting these women disrespect you by insulting your intelligence. Call out on her BS and don't let up. And you're right, Big Smooth, I agree with you 1,000%. And on that note, guys, I'm about to sign off. I'm going to get my baby and pick her up. And guys, thank you. I will see you guys on tomorrow. And we're going to be having another show. I plan to have LAR Movement on that show. And I look forward to, empowering you brothers and doing it again. And on that note, once again, fire for your mind.
Fire for your mind.
I'm about to sign off another good stream. And thank you to all the brothers that donated. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. And guys, we're signing off.
Let's go. Are you ready? You've been staring since I came in. I know you wanna get to know me. But honestly, I came with my girls, wanna dance by ourselves. Can't you tell? Baby, baby, I have thick skin. Yeah, I don't let things get to me. But do you want me to spell it out for you right now? I'm not feeling your vibe. Crystal clear that you're head over heels, but don't come any closer, my dear. Cause when I get mad, I cannot control what might happen. You think you can put your hands on my body. I'm no damsel in distress. Come too close, I might just lose it. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I think you're messing with the wrong girl. I bring the thunder, haven't you heard? But honestly, I just wanna dance with my girls here tonight. No man by our side. Crystal clear that you're head over heels, but don't come any closer, my dear. Cause when I get mad, I cannot control what might happen. You think you can put your hands on my body. I'm no damsel in distress. Come too close, I might just lose it. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. Boy, you better sit down, you just shut your mouth. Cause I don't need a man to make me feel fine. Better sit down, you just shut your mouth. Yeah. You better sit down, you just shut your mouth. Cause I don't need a man to make me feel fine. Better sit down, you just shut your mouth. Yeah. You think you can put your hands on my body. I'm no damsel in distress. Come too close, I might just lose it. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom. I knock you down like boom, 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 boom,
Ma jolie, oh ma jolie. Ah yeah, eh. Every time I come around you, baby girl, something doesn't feel the same. You said that I'm changing, but it's really you. I see how you play those games. Wifey type for a main man. A queen can make moves, a king can't. Snatch you up, now you taking. Gave you bricks, now you building a wall up, wall up. Lately you and I've been all love, all love. I don't know what's up with our love, our love. You forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie. Where are you when I need you the most? You still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting. Girl, you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something. Now you talking, telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I pull it off, pull it off? telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. My jolie, oh my jolie. You don't turn on me now. You don't get no time for me now, babe. Got him on a rebound, but it's only you that I like, babe. Tout ce que j'ai fait c'était pour toi. Sur le haut parle mais t'écoutes pas. Tu me vois crever mais tu bouges pas. Pourquoi? Whoa, yo, wall up. You can't even get the scars up for us. I don't know what's up with our love. You're forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie, where you been? When I need you the most, you still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. This is called the bluffing, made you something, now you talking. I call you bluffing, telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. My jolie, oh my jolie. Yeah, this is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something, now you talking. Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Cool it off. I don't know how to cool it off. My jolie, oh, my jolie.